Lexington for what is a wild afternoon. Not only is it great for the family and all the kids as they're celebrating, but an awfully good matchup as well as the Tennessee Volunteers come to Lexington to take on the Wildcats of Kentucky. Hi everybody, I'm Dave Biggert. It's a treat for me because not only do I get to work with the great Jenny Dalton Hill, I get to work with the great Carol Bruggeman, the Executive Director of the American Fast Pitch Coaches Association. You know about this deal. This is a really, this sounds old, cool idea.
It definitely is. We're in year 4 of Big Blue Boo. First year was actually against Tennessee, and because these two teams don't play in the regular season, we get to see them in the fall, which is a really neat matchup, Carol.
Yes, and I think that is going to be the biggest treat of all is the matchup. Both teams make deep postseason runs every year. They play in the toughest conference in the country. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Gives coaches an opportunity to see where they are in the fall, where they think they may need to go in the spring, and that's evidenced by the fact that Kentucky comes right out of the gate tonight with Sydney Langdon.
And Sydney Langdon, it was a freshman last year, got a lot of innings in some pressure situations. Going to be counted on more for her leadership this year as a sophomore. You're going to see a lot of spin on the ball.
Well, and the thing that's hard for her is she has to go up against a really good lineup, especially there at the top of the lineup as she faces off against Kinsey Fiedler, who that transfer coming over from Washington has filled big shoes there at the top of the lineup and has been so dominant this fall. They're expecting her to do big things all spring.
So it is absolutely a beautiful night here at John Kropp Stadium. I believe it's about 72, 73 degrees. The wind is usually whipping here, but it's just a nice gentle breeze you see blowing that Big Boo smoke. Our umpires today, Jim Cooper's down at third, Jeremy was at first, and Shane Jackson is behind the plate. As we get set for the first pitch from Sydney Langdon. And here's the center fielder, Kinsey Fiedler. We will not only be celebrating the softball here today, but we'll be celebrating this event. We'll be talking with some of the folks from UK Ops. You look at this field and what they've done with it, with the, see the spider web and all the graphics and everything, and that ball is shot down near the Kentucky bullpen and falls foul.
Well, and that's what makes Kinsey Fiedler so dominant at the top of the lineup. She can use her wheels to get down the line, but she's got a ton of power as well. And when you follow up against a leadoff hitter like Kiki Malloy that Tennessee had last year, it's so important to fill that role with another big hitter, and that's exactly what Fiedler's been able to do.
And she's been able to find her place in center field now. At Washington, she was a utility player, played second base, center field, really moved all around the diamond. That shows you her athleticism, her versatility. But as she turns into the upper class part of her career, being able to settle into center field and really lock that down, and the leadoff spot for the Vols, they're going to be key for their season.
Ball stays upstairs. We'll show you some of the activities throughout the course of this game, but I mean, this place is packed. The stands are packed. We've got the berm is full out in the outfield. It is just, I mean, it's just fun. And again, Fiedler goes the opposite way.
And Buzz, I don't know that you could ask for a more perfect fall evening here at John Kropp Stadium. The sun is perfect. It's not too hot, not too cold, kind of like a porridge for Baby Bear, right? But when it comes to watching a softball game, you can't ask for a better matchup or a better evening here in the Bluegrass.
If we were going to have a pool, I would bet that everybody would have bet on me to make the first Baby Bear reference as opposed to somebody as young as Jenny. And that ball stayed just upstairs. And so Langdon has run the count full to the Volunteer leadoff hitter. And that one hit her.
And this has been last year, when you think about Langdon, really one of the top strikeout pitchers, not only in the SEC, but in the country, but also a lot of free passes, the walks, the hit batters. She works a full count to Fiedler, and this is a rise ball that just gets away from her, hangs on to it too long, and the last thing Kentucky wants to do is put their fastest base runner on first base, and that's what's happened.
So with Fiedler at first, Taylor Panel shoots one up the middle. And 2 up and 2 on for the Lady Vols.
Well, anytime you put a leadoff hitter on, it just puts your back against the wall, and especially with that wild pitch going into Fiedler to put her on with the free pass, you saw that she pipes the very next pitch, and what should you do as a hitter? Tattoo it right back up the middle. Did her job, and now runners at first and second.
Nobody out for a person that if anybody's going to have a good game on a day like this, it would be somebody who's named Boo Gibson.
Yeah, not just a nickname for today. That is what she goes by in everyday life. So while McKenna may be what you see on the screen, that's Boo.
She's Boo everywhere else except for the TSA, right?
That's right.
That went in for a called strike.
Well, and she's named that after the Monsters, Inc. character. When she was little, they say she looked like her Boo, and so that's what they started calling her
Really?
from the time that she was
I
little.
did not know that. Even more apropos on this night. And that ball shot through the left side for a base hit. Fiedler's going to make the turn. Throw comes to the plate. Not in time. Gets away from the catcher. Rounding third. And now we've got a situation out here. They throw back down. And they get the out at second. And then they throw it away at first. And they're going to get a break. Because when that ball was thrown away, it hit third base umpire Jim Cooper. Or else it would have gone up against the Kentucky dugout. And so after all that, Tennessee only gets 1 run, and now they're 2 away. Am I right about that?
I mean, how's your scorecard right now, everybody? Very, very impressive the way Tennessee is hitting the ball, first of all. I mean, these are not weak hits. This is a pitch right on the outside part of the plate that Gibson absolutely crushes. And this ball, in my opinion, as they get the break at home. But that's what the fall's all about.
Right.
Fundamentals, catching and throwing. You've got a lot of players playing different positions, especially at Kentucky. They have a lot of new fielders out there, graduated quite a few transferred out. And so you expect to see a little bit of this, but not in the first inning here with with Kentucky.
And that ball is flared to right for the second out of the inning. And here's a look at the Kentucky defense. Left to right in the infield, it's Hutchins, Reisner. Really odd to not see Aaron Koffel out there. Bumped the transfer at second. Borzilleri back at first. Hamilton catches for Langdon. Mitchell, Sullivan, and the hard-hitting Peyton Plotz left to right in the Wildcat outfield.
And you mentioned the hitting, Carol, and when you think about Tennessee, you think Chris Malveaux, but he left and is now the head coach at Auburn, which opened the door for Craig Snyder to come in for Tennessee. And with maybe a little bit different terminology, Tennessee still swinging it very dominantly.
And completely different approaches. You know, Chris Malveaux, it has worked very well for him at Louisiana Lafayette and at Missouri and certainly at Tennessee. Now he gets a chance to be the leader, he and his wife Kate, at Auburn. But very, very mechanical. Once the body in a position that's going to be able to elevate the ball, and you see his teams hit a lot of home runs because of that.
That ball is going to carry into the stands just over the Tennessee dugout.
But Craig Snyder, very different philosophy, a little more about what approach do we need to take, what does the situation call for. In this situation, for example, right now, Sophia Nugent, 2 strikes on her, 2 outs, a runner at second base. She's trying to get the ball through the infield, so she may shorten up a little bit, she may choke up a little bit, open up, something to make an adjustment with 2 strikes.
Mailer with 2 strikes finds the gap, and that'll score the second run of the inning. And Mailer will churn into second base with a stand-up 2-out double. And the Volunteers lead 2-0.
And when you look at this pitch, it's left big over the plate. It is down, but the way that Nugent is able to go down and get this ball, she drives it right back up the middle. And Carol, you mentioned it. She was in a 2-strike approach, which meant that she shortened everything up. Very quiet in her legs, quick to the ball, and just...
And with 2 outs, Aubrey Barnhart fouls off the first pitch.
You know, I think about approaches and Craig Snyder and his hitting philosophy. going to go way back a little bit here to Gail Blevins, who coached at the University of Iowa, and she was one of the first coaches who had a signal and really worked in practice on, she called it a dump, where you would hit the ball to the right side of the field with a runner at third and just try to score. And now we see that a lot with various hitting coaches. You know, whatever the game calls for, you're going to do it to score the run, not just go for the long ball every time.
I think Karen Weekly was asking if there was catcher's interference, and now they say there is. So Karen immediately came out of the third base coaching box as that first pitch to Barnhart was fouled off. And so they've obviously decided that there was catcher interference against the Wildcats.
Well, and that's maybe one of the biggest changes that we've seen for the face of Kentucky is back behind the dish. Now, Kayla Kowalik was not a Wildcat last year, but we've seen some movement in that position. Hamilton is locking it down there, back there behind the dish, but there's still some miscues.
And here's a look.
I don't see it in slow motion, but the umpires, no replay here tonight, so they're going to go off of what they see.
And it was not called by the home plate umpire, Jane Jackson, when Karen Weekly came down to ask if that was the case. He got together with his other two crewmates. I can't.
It's the fall for everybody. That's right. It's the fall for everybody.
I can't think of anything else they would have called, right?
The officials.
There's nothing else they could have called that could have put her on first, right?
The play at the plate earlier where the runner for Tennessee was called out, panel. Karen Weekly immediately went down and gave the video review signal and then realized, we don't have video review today. But, you know, it's the fall for everybody.
It's a good call, Carol. And that ball's fouled off.
Yeah, that's a trick, not a treat, right?
There we go. That's one.
Make sure you're keeping score on those ones tonight.
Boy, and Langdon, who by all accounts has been pretty good this fall, she's not fooled anybody yet here in the first. Got to call on that one. And that'll end the inning. But not before the Volunteers get a couple of runs. 2 hits, 1 error. They leave 1, and it's 2-0 after a half inning.
Ugh, a rash? Maybe it'll go.
Get 2 in the top half of the first, and Carol, that is good news for that smiling young lady, Erin Newer.
And you love, this is what the fall's all about. Getting a freshman in that uniform, getting them in the circle against high-level competition. She's going to be a special one at Tennessee.
And Allie Hutchins, you see there to lead things off for the Wildcats. It'll be Hutchins, Bump, Reisner, Plotz, Borzilleri, Hamilton, Mitchell, Sullivan, and Allie Bloom is the DP. It's an off-speed pitch. It caught the outside corner.
You know, Buzz, when you think about Tennessee, you think about quality pitching.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you know, the Renfro sisters, Monica Abbott, we could go on. And last year, Tennessee had 2 first-team NFCA All-American pitchers, and that rarely happens. To have 2 on the first team. I mean, there's only 3 that get selected nationwide. And that's a big reason for their success last year. So big shoes to fill here for Newer, but that's nothing new for Tennessee. They just seem to reload in the circle with some dominant pitching.
And it comes down to the quality staff that they've been able to assemble. While Karen Weekly has a great analytical mind and used to really take charge of that pitching, you now see new faces coming in trying to back up Pickens and Orsini.
Marcheco, one of the transfers. Rachel Lawson told us that Carlin Pickens really shut the Cats down in Knoxville.
And that was the thing that she said. They felt like they were in control of that first matchup earlier in October. But then Pickens came in through 3 innings and shut them down, and they could not rebound against her. She has been so good. But You're not going to see her start a game in the fall. You're going to see her come in and finish things because they need to get some innings under the belts of these young pitchers.
So here's the graduate student, Mackenzie Bump, who transfers in from Ohio State. I believe we saw her here last year when Ohio State played here against Kentucky. Rachel Lawson has been very happy with the way she has been making contact in the fall.
Well, that's one thing that does not get talked a lot about with the transfer portal. There's a lot of people on both sides of the aisle about the transfer portal, but you cannot argue with bringing in a hitter who's got, 200, 300, 400 at-bats under their belt. I mean, that's just experience versus a freshman, and Bump is one of those hitters. Just very savvy, was in the lineup quite a bit for Ohio State, and, she's a graduate student, so she has a lot of experience, and you see two other young ladies from Oregon State. Oregon State just a couple years ago was in the Super Regional against Stanford, went on to punch their ticket for the Women's College World Series, and Hennigas pitched in the Women's College World Series. So a lot of experience brought in the transfer portal for Kentucky.
And the reason they need to bring in big hitters is the fact that they've lost so much offense off of last year's team. The top 10 hitters on Kentucky's lineup last year, only 2 are returning. So they need to bring in not just experience, but some big swings as well.
I mean, I saw a very important stat there. Her favorite Halloween candy was the Reese's
Pumpkins.
peanut butter pumpkins. What about you two?
Yeah, straight up.
What about
that's
you
my
two?
go-to.
That's your go-to, Buzz?
Just whatever I've got in my hand. As you can see by this lumpy body, I'm not very picky.
I thought that was a costume.
Runner goes and the throw's in time. And that's a strike him out, throw him out.
Well, and that's difficult. When you get a first runner on, you want to make sure that you capitalize on that. But back there behind the dish, look at the way Sophia Nugent just pops out of her legs, delivers an absolute cannon down to second base. It was a good jump over at first. But when you've got an arm like that and great timing back behind the dish, that pop time's quick. Pay attention. There's not going to be a lot of runners going against Nugent.
And we'll see how this plays out for Kentucky as Cassie Reisner steps in, but you would not think initially that there would be as much speed at the top or the bottom of the lineup as Rachel Lawson has had in recent years.
No, definitely not. I mean, Kayla Kowalik is unprecedented with the way that she ran the bases, just so savvy. She wasn't necessarily the fastest runner in the country, but she picked her perfect placement of when to go, how to advance, and to have that kind of leadoff, it's hard to replace that, and they're still looking for the kind of speed and power at the top for Kentucky.
That's a squibber down to third, and across the diamond, Boo Gibson gets the out. Nothing going for the Cats in inning number 1. We head to the second, and the Vols up by 2. So Rachel Lawson and company, they not only get things done here on the field, but ladies, they really value their alumni and make them feel special.
Maybe the ultimate party planner.
Yes.
If you ever need something done for an event, she is the go-to. She is the mastermind behind this Big Blue Boo. But that tailgate was attended by players from every class that Kentucky has played softball since 1997.
A couple of hops, and that one got past Reisner, and they'll call that a base hit. I didn't see that she had done some additional graphics to her visor.
She really does go all out. Their Christmas party is over the top to the point that Kentucky's athletic department actually gets in on the Christmas party and just uses the same venue that Lawson goes ahead and decorates. I mean, she really does not leave any stone unturned. She decorates everything, and it's completely thorough in everything that she plans for the holidays.
Bella Faw on at first base with that leadoff single, and that's a called strike.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Abby Cheek was the National Player of the Year for the NFCA, and we had a chance to come over and give her that award during a football game, and just happened to be the alumni tailgate, and I was wowed with the amount of detail and just how special she makes her alums feel.
So the runner's going to be out. The batted ball hit Fall. So that's an automatic out and a dead ball.
I mean, there were a couple things going on in that. As a runner, you've got to not only avoid the ball, but you have to avoid the defender. So she kind of had the double whammy in that one. You've got to make sure that you run with your eyes up, and she really got caught just head down, not paying attention to the batted ball.
If she had run into Bump.
Yeah, she's out either way. Literally, she's
I was going to say, I would have thought she would have had a case for obstruction if she ran into Bump, because, I mean, who's got the right of way there?
The defender has the right of way in that situation, and so you're taught as a middle infielder to always get in the way of the runner, try to make contact, not malicious contact, but as soon as they touch you as you're advancing for a ball, they're automatically out.
Runner goes, and in there safely is Morgan.
I think we're going to see a little more of this, Jenny, from Tennessee. A little more stolen bases this year, pushing the envelope with their speed. They had a lot of home run hitters last year. You think Kiki Malloy, Zeta Pooney, like you could go on and on. They lost half of their home run power from a season ago. So I look for Tennessee to go back to their roots, so to speak. When you think about Tennessee, you think short game, slapping, pressure, base running. And then come up with the base hit or the long ball. And, we've seen that already here in the second inning with Morgan heading over to second base.
So Tennessee back at the top of the order with Fiedler, who was hit by a pitch to lead things off and then scored the first run of the game. And I would say, talking about that as well, from the other standpoint, I think there are going to be a lot of people that are going to see what Hamilton's got behind the dish early on. I think they're going to test her early on, and she's going to have to throw out some people, or else there are going to be more and more people trying to take that base over at first.
Well, that's your job, right? You always want to test the arm of the catcher back behind the dish, see how you can exploit the defense, because runners at second base changes the way that you play defensively. A runner at first, not as big of a threat, but once you get into scoring position, you've got to make sure that you protect third base. You've got to be able to cover up the bag at second, and so you are out of position at times defensively when that runner is able to swipe second.
Langdon's 2-1 is driven down toward the line and left, and boy, that was a great effort out there by Mitchell.
Can you tell her other position is catcher?
Yeah.
I mean, she has no fear out there. That is just, she got her hand out, but went full speed into that padded wall. It's a good thing it is padded. It has to be padded now per NCAA rules, but
I think she forgot that the tools of ignorance were not on her body, and so it's easier to go harder into things when you've got that chest protector
all that catching
on.
gear.
Yeah, right? But they will flip-flop back behind the dish, so you're seeing some moving parts behind the plate as well.
I think it's also really interesting to see the adjustments from both sides, inning to inning, at-bat to at-bat. I mean, last inning, Tennessee tattooed every pitch they saw, right? And this inning has been a bunch of knuckleballs that they've hit. But still, they've got a runner at second with just one out. Boy, and there's another ball that got by an infielder, and that's going to score a run.
And cutoff and relays right now seems to be something that needs to be maybe practiced a little bit more. But remember, this Kentucky squad is trying to replace 6 defenders. Out of 9 starters, 6 have departed. And in that situation at second base, you got to belly that up. You got to get behind that ball. Even if it comes off your chest, it's an easy out at first base. But then as the first baseman slides back in, you've got to listen to your communication to be able to catch that cutoff and prevent advancing over to second.
So Bump couldn't make the play. They charge her with the first error of the game.
And that's where Jenny...
No, I'm sorry. Third error of the game, excuse me.
Kentucky is trying to find a way to get Hutchins and Bump on the field at the same time. The 1-2 hitters, they just both happen to play third base, and Bump has played third base her entire career at Ohio State. So giving her an opportunity here to play second base, you could tell on that last play. I mean, playing the middle infield, it's all about footwork and moving your feet. And at third base, a lot of times you take 1 or 2 steps, and that's all you can do. So that's why you're playing in the fall. You're putting people in different positions. You're looking at different lineups. It really gives you some homework to go back and work on as you head into February.
The net result, though, is in, what is it now? 1 1/3 innings. We've seen 2 balls that everybody involved would say should have been caught in the infield that have led to Tennessee runs. That ball's hit on a number, And one hop, it's off the wall. Fiedler's going to come in and score for the second time this game. That is a stand-up double for Panel. And the Volunteer lead grows to 4-0.
On the second time in the day, she's got a line drive out there to center field. I mean, she is seeing the ball well. She is taking the ball right back up the middle as a hitter. That's your goal. You want to go gap to gap. You never want to try to pull off the ball. But with that hit to center, we're going to see a change in the pitching circle. So remember, her last time up, she got down to 2 strikes, kept it very simple, and went right back up the middle there. Did keep her stride. And out there in center field, Delaney Sullivan just didn't get a good read off the bat. And that's the hard part about the fall. You have it of live reads off the bat. And so out there in center field, that's the hardest place to judge distance and depth. And so did not get that, got her feet a little tangled up, ball over her head. All she could do was turn and run.
So we get now one of the transfers, Hendiges, who comes in and gets the ball in the circle with 1 on, 1 out, and Kentucky looking up at a 4-run deficit here in the top of the second inning.
And this is what the fall is all about as well. Hendiges started a lot at Oregon State, also came in relief as a freshman quite a bit during their World Series run. But now this is an opportunity for Hendiges to practice, hey, you know, we're down 4-0. It's early in the game. I need to do something to change the tempo and get the momentum back on the Wildcat side. And so she's going to get the opportunity in the circle to start and make that happen.
And I think it's really important to figure out what matchups work in a pitching circle as well. Not only do you need to be dominant in the circle, but a coach needs to figure out who plays well off of each other. You want different looks coming in and backing each other up. So Hendiges now stepping in a pressure-filled situation.
Boo Gibson singled and knocked in a run in her only other appearance at the plate. Tennessee has now gotten 4 runs on 5 hits and 4 Kentucky errors.
That changeup is so important in every pitcher's game, and that's the one that disrupts timing. That's the one that gets a hitter on their heels, and that's the pitch that I did not see out of Langdon come in with dominance. There, Hendiges brings it in quickly to let the hitters know that it's in her arsenal.
Boy, and that's now, we keep adding up all these different things. This is now the second hit batsman that Kentucky pitchers have made contact with.
Well, and not to say that this is a pitching coach's fault, but there has been a change at Kentucky this season with Grace Ballman, the alumni who was a dominant pitcher for Kentucky herself, is now taking the reins of all pitch calling and pitcher training, and that's different. Coach Lawson has been that pitch caller for her entire time at Kentucky, so this is the first time that Lawson has been able to let go of the reins and give that responsibility over to someone else.
She called for one pitcher last year. Who was it? And that was it. Somebody she had worked with for a long time.
Stephanie Schoonover.
It was Schoonover. Thank you.
In and call those pitches for, just because there was a relationship between the two of them already, and with the younger pitchers coming in, Grace Ballman did take the reins last year for all of them except for Schoonover.
Laura Mailer flew out to right back in the first.
Well, and I feel like we have 2 of the best strategists in the game as head coaches with Karen Weekly and Rachel Lawson. Just really analytical, very cerebral. Just bottom line, they're just really smart about the game, and they're able to think 2 or 3 pitches ahead, 2 or 3 plays ahead. So for Rachel Lawson to say, hey, I trust Grace Ballman, we're going to make this happen. Now, Grace Ballman pitched for her for 4 years, was a GA last year. But that just shows a lot about Rachel Lawson and her ability also to just really trust her assistant coaches.
And we've seen a big shift in what head coaches are being asked to do. Not only are they being asked to run a program, but I feel like, Carol, you and I were talking about this before the game, they are now general managers. I mean, this is no longer an amateur sport. It feels like now the way that a head coach has to operate, there are so many things and so many hats that they have to wear and be responsible for, that now they're able to hand off things to their other assistant coaches.
Mailer, one hop off the wall. Panel comes in to score. All in, goes all the way to third. And that will be a double for Mailer. And the lead grows to 5-0. There's Karen Weekly. Boy, what she has done. And she works it hard, but she is so much fun. For somebody that's done this for as long as no matter what it is, you can tell she really loves her job. She loves what she's doing. And, you know, you were talking about those analytics. She reminded me the other day that she started out as an attorney. Her husband, Ralph, who was her co-coach for a while, was a spy guy. So, I mean, they could have been the most analytical coaching staff in the country, right? But it's worked, and worked well, as that ball is hauled in by Borzilleri in front of the Tennessee dugout. And they're 2 away.
Well, and going back to Karen Weekly, just how much she has evolved. She would tell you the same thing. The program has evolved, and you know, from start to finish. And what I love most about Karen is, you know, she talks about it all the time. You know, she didn't play at the Division I level. She played at the NAIA level at Pacific Lutheran, and just really appreciates her roots. And you know, you've got to find the place that fits for you, and she uses that a lot, even when she was recruiting the highest level players to Tennessee. And just how she has evolved as a coach, and how the program has evolved. And you called it, Jenny. It's being a GM now. Coaches used to have themselves and one assistant coach, and now they have you know, 3 other assistant coaches. They may have a director of player development. They may have a video coordinator, a technology, couple GAs, couple student assistants, and a partridge in a pear tree. And you know, so now instead of a staff meeting of 2 or 3, it's a full conference room. And a lot of coaches, if you don't have that training, it's how do you manage your staff? How do you delegate? And of course, the NIL.
And the grounder to second. And the inning is over, but not before the Vols get 3 more on 3 hits and a Kentucky error. It's 5-0 Tennessee.
So, who's driving tonight then?
Who's the best driver?
To do as an athlete was just take the field, celebrate the big moments from last year, especially in the fall, because you're just trying to relive those glory moments, knowing that the spring is going to bring a whole new set of circumstances.
And it's so tough to win one SEC championship, let alone back-to-back. And, you know, it's going to get even more interesting this year, Jenny and Buzz, with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. Oh, they just happened to finish 1 and 2 last year in the Women's College World Series, and they are now sliding into this league as well. I mean, every game is going to be so exciting, unless you're the head coach of that team, and then it's, you know, just a lot to figure out. But it's a very exciting conference, and Tennessee, you just have to tip your hat to Karen Weekly, all of their players, their coaching staff. I mean, again, to win back-to-back championships in this league is not easy to do.
Peyton Plotz, even in a count, 1-1, just the 4th Kentucky batter that we have seen this afternoon. And you know, you were talking about Oklahoma and Texas. Karen was very quick to remind us on our call the other day that they play at both places this year.
As she said, they're the only team in the SEC that has to play both of the newcomers on their home turf.
And the Wildcats have their first hit of the afternoon as Peyton Plotz flares one to right.
And we've seen a lot of changes in the boundaries of a lot of these conferences across the country, but I don't know that any other sport is affected as much as softball by the addition of Tennessee and Oklahoma being added to the SEC.
Here's Lauren Borzilleri, the Kentucky first baseman.
And I thought it was interesting when Coach Weekly was talking about it. Of course, you know, every coach does look ahead a little bit with their planning and who they have to play. But when you guys talked with Coach Weekly about that, she was very quick to mention that, you know, it might be even tougher for Oklahoma and Texas coming in, because in the league they were coming from, there may have been a game or 2 where you could win on talent alone, and that just does not happen in the SEC. It is a battle and a fight every single inning, every single pitch, and that'll be a little different for Texas and Oklahoma on a daily and, on a weekly basis as well.
And then figuring out who do you schedule for your midweeks. Are you going to try to take a break, or are you going to keep your RPI up? That's one of the benefits of playing in the SEC, is the fact that your RPI is not affected week in and week out once you get to conference play.
Ball by Borzilleri fouled off. And Neuer set to work with a 1-2 pitch. And time is called as Nugent wants to confer with the dugout. Couldn't tell whether she was smacking her glove or waving somebody off in the dugout. Nice stop again. She's had a couple of those this inning.
And I think it was a missed opportunity over there at first base. Plotz should not be standing on first. She should be at second base. It's all about dirt reads, and that dirt ball definitely hit way before the plate. She should have been taken off, and you saw Molly Belcher Johnson's face.
Wow,
A little disappointed.
A hopper right in front of the plate. And Tennessee can't handle it. And Borzilleri hustling and going into second. So,
Jenny, I call this the swinging bunt. And when you're on offense, you're like, way to make something happen. When you're on defense, you've got to be kidding me. This is just a missed opportunity for Tennessee. Nugent bare hands the ball on the run, makes a nice play, but can't complete the throw and receiving over at first base. And just Kentucky putting the ball in play, now putting a little pressure on Tennessee. We're seeing it's a little bit of that fundamental breakdown from Tennessee as well.
Well, and you notice as soon as you advance base runners, it changes your defense. So now as Tennessee plays defensively, they're short, they're shallow, they're protecting the plate. Because of that, it opens it up for a hitter to be able to just punch it through, score a run, and put yourself on the scoreboard. Get rid of that, that goose egg that they're struggling to get rid of.
So Chris Scholes, who does such a great job with the information for us, is on his way back from Kentucky volleyball at Alabama. Ben Slack is the official score today. An excellent decision on his part, as that was called an error on the first baseman. And during that period of time, Rachel Lawson knows how important every run is, so she has gone pinch runner at second base as 99 Emery Donaldson comes in.
And this game doesn't have any implications in the spring. And the reason that these two teams play in the fall is simply because they are not on each other's schedule in the regular season. And so it gives them an opportunity to have a quality opponent that is close to home and be able to play a tough game in the fall.
Dribbler to third. Boy, and what a nice play down there by Boo Gibson. Nobody's able to advance. And you've talked about that schedule, ladies, and it is daunting any way you look at it.
Yeah, they've got a really tough schedule. I mean, when you look at the way the teams they have to play on the road, but then also the teams they play at home, they don't get a chance to take a breath. I mean, even when you're looking at a team like Ole Miss that has been down a little bit the past couple of years, they're building their program as well. So there is no opportunity once you get to conference season to be able to take a breath and feel like you can win on talent alone, like you mentioned, Carol, that Oklahoma and maybe Texas have been able to do in their previous conference.
Carissa Hamilton steps out. So still just one out in the inning. Plotz at third and Donaldson at second. And the Wildcats looking up at a 5-0 deficit. And that ball shot down to first. Boy, nice play down there. Did they call it foul?
Yep, foul ball called by the home plate umpire, Shane Jackson.
Wow, I might want to take a look at that one.
In the spring they will.
Well, see what you think.
It's hard to tell from that vantage point. He has a much better view of it being down there on the field and being able to shift over to see that line.
And you go back to the schedule. That's why this game is scheduled as well. A lot of teams in the fall, and I know when I was coaching a long time as well, you're just playing local teams. Doesn't matter what division they are, doesn't matter what level they are. You just want to play some games, get some competition in. But it's also a little bit difficult sometimes to know where you are after those games, depending on what happens. Even though you're like, hey, look, the first 3 innings, this is the lineup. Next 2 innings, this is the lineup. Final 2 innings, no matter what the score is, we just want to see matchups. We want to see you compete. But in this case, this is really a gift for both teams because you do get a good measure of where these teams are going to be competing against teams like their opponent today, day in and day out, all season long. So you get a better measure of where you are and the things you need to work on.
Well, and I tip my cap to both of these coaches, recognizing how important it is to play a quality opponent in the fall to get that temperature gauge, like you mentioned, Carol, to see where you are. And it also is maybe a kick in the pants for some of these players who have maybe been coasting in the fall and now taking an opportunity to having to show up in a big way against an opponent that they will see in the postseason.
Mitchell back to the Kentucky dugout with a second out of the inning. And Delaney Sullivan stands in from the left side of the plate. The other thing I think is so good about what they do as well is both coaches put an emphasis on playing in-state teams in the fall and trying to grow the game within their own state. They've certainly done a lot to do that already, but I know that Kentucky has played Georgetown. They were supposed to play Moorhead, and I think that got rained out or something, and Tennessee does the same thing with the number of good clubs that they've got down there. Donaldson at second, Plotz at third. And Newer trying to get out of this jam.
And this is a big moment for Delaney Sullivan. Last season only had 12 at-bats on the entire year. Now with runners at second and third and 2 outs, I mean, this is pressure-filled, and if she can show up here, it gives her a great opportunity to try to get her penciled name inked in for the spring.
Gets the call at the top of the zone on a nice off-speed pitch. And it's 2-2. And she gets a call on a corner. So Kentucky makes some noise, but they can't get anything done. No runs, a hit, an error. They leave 2. We head to the third. Vols lead by 5.
So, who's driving tonight then?
Jenny Dalton Hill, Carol Bruggeman back here for what they call the Big Blue Boo, and it's been a celebration of softball and all things Halloween. Sarah Schwartz is the director of ops here for like many things here, and normally when we see her, she's about to tell us we're getting shut down for a lightning delay. But young lady, you have done a marvelous, marvelous job on getting this all ready to go.
All right, we're good.
Oh, you good now, Sarah? Gave you this flowery introduction and everything.
Thanks so much, Dave. Himes is going to block me, so I'm good.
She is, right? Yeah. I mean, she got some TV time this week. Talk about what you've done here and all the people that pitch in to make this Big Blue Boo happen.
Yeah, it takes all of us, everyone from the sports video crew to sports turf to our operations staff and all the softball staff as well. Everyone plays a huge part in this, and without them, then we could not do this.
Well, and you walked around to all of these booths before the game. Do you have a favorite? Was there one that you wish you could have, participated in and stolen the candy from?
No, I'm all right personally, but I am excited for the 5th inning when we potentially do something out on the turf field behind the game.
Was that your idea?
I wish it was. I did volunteer some people, though, so I will take credit on that one.
Well, being in a leadership role, it's all about delegating, right? So
Absolutely.
Well done. I just love what the grounds crew has done with the field, the big ghost in the outfield. You've got the orange and the blue coloring with the big boo on the sides. Who makes that decision? What actually gets painted on the field?
Yeah, I think Lawson has an idea, and then it comes to life from there. So we all live in Lawson's world is the best way. But Marcus Ellswick and his crew, Matthew Good, all of them kind of chip in and they make it happen and come up with a big design. Lawson has these characters she has created, and with those characters that she's created, they made all of them come to life out on the actual field.
So there's a base hit by Gabby Leach to lead things off for Tennessee in the top of inning number 3. Sarah, I think that one thing people would be surprised to find out is just how many hours these folks on the ground crew work, not only for this event, but just day in and day out.
Absolutely. Obviously, the dirt's got to be watered, the grass has got to be cut. Whether it rains, snows in Lexington, someone's got to be around to take care of the field. So really can't do it without that crew.
Well, and what's one of the things that you struggle with in an event like this? It is the fall. This is an off season for softball. But when you have this many fans coming out to a facility in the off season, what are some of the hiccups that you have to make sure that you iron out before they come?
I think it's logistics. Obviously, we're not in season, so a lot of people are out of their normal rhythm. So for us, obviously, there's some of us that are working football and other sports. So we're prepared, but it's getting our staff in place, training some new folks, and kind of getting ready for that regular softball season in March. But, you know, it's basically just making sure everything's tip-top shape as well, because we got a game to play on top of all the fall festivities as well.
Well, Sarah, this is the 4th version of the Big Blue Boo. 2 questions for you. Number one, just with your, just with the ballpark figure here, literally, do you believe this is the largest attended or the biggest crowd, number one? Number two, we're wondering what your favorite Halloween candy is.
Yeah, so based on, I actually do know the current attendance, so
Yes.
it is the largest, as we're at 1,985 currently. So we have hit we've outdone all of them, which is great. Every year it gets bigger. If you're gonna ask me about my candy, it's definitely Sour Patch Kids, because that's how my personality is, sour and sweet. So
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I
Yep.
mean, let me ask you one other question, and I see your buddy there chuckling while she's standing there acting like she can't hear.
Oh, I know.
Do you have any real confidence that Coach Christine Himes, if there was a shot down that way, would jump in front of you like a Secret Service agent and make sure you were not harmed by a batted ball?
I have all full trust in Coach Himes to protect me, yes. She's got her glove ready to go.
She does have a glove on. That's awesome.
Yes.
Sarah, how many, we are curious up here, just really curious, because there's so many young kids here today. It's so great to see them at the ballpark. Lots of smiles on their faces, lots of games to play, good softball to watch. But how much candy is in the ballpark right now? How much, where does that come from? And how much is here?
Yep, Coach Lawson makes her way to the stores each year. So that, a big part of it's from her and her crew. But I think they had around almost a little over a ton of candy. A lot is donated from Kroger as well. So a special shout out for their help on this event to make it so big.
She goes out, buys the candy.
Absolutely. There are 13,000 prizes out there. She's also bought that. Amazon's her best friend during this month.
I will say Kroger did step in this year and donated 30 boxes of candy for this event. So hopefully she didn't have to dip into her budget for the candy portion.
I'm
But
wondering,
she said she started buying toys in July for this event.
Yes, our first meeting about this event was in August. And if you were wondering, I was not in softball mode in August, but I was forced to be.
I mean, we're always in softball mode. There's just no other place to be. But, Sarah, I'm just wondering, too, if Coach Lawson has a secret stash in said office, since she is the one buying the candy. Like, does she have a little secret stash? Give us the intel.
No, her stash is more so coffee, not the candy.
By the gallon.
Probably, yes.
Sarah, I said this jokingly earlier, but you are like the ops director for like everything, aren't you? This is not an exaggeration. You can see her at a volleyball match on Friday night. You can see her at Kroger Field on Saturday. You can see her at the softball field or over at soccer on Sunday. And then you can see her having follow-up meetings about all of those events on Monday. So is there anything you don't do?
I try to stay away from a lot of things to have a social life, as I got a dog in April, so I try to take care of her a little bit, to not be at every athletic facility. But we all chip in. We have a great team that we get to work with, and it's a good time to be here.
That ball is fouled off. Sarah, thank you for your time. See, I know how excited you were to do this interview, but hopefully it was very painless, and we appreciate everything you and your staff do each and every week, especially today.
Yep, I appreciate you all three. Thanks for coming out and supporting this as well.
Thanks, Sarah. I mean, am I that wrong, Jenny? Is she like everywhere?
No, every event that's happening on campus, you will find Sarah buzzing around. And luckily, she's out of her boot and off of her scooter. I mean, she was injured last year, and it seemed to take forever to heal.
That's because it broke once after she was in the boot.
I mean, she
re-broke the same ankle.
That shows you the tenacity and the kind of worker that she is, and Kentucky's grateful to have her.
So Hattigas gets the strikeout of Morgan, and now Fiedler up at the top of the order for the third time in as many innings. She was hit by a pitch, reached on an error, and has scored both times.
Really like Fiedler at the top of the lineup for Tennessee. And it'll be interesting to see if that continues in the spring. I feel like it will because of her skill set. I mean, she's an experienced hitter, and she's really that true triple threat. She can bunt, she can slap, she can swing away and hit it over the fence. So she's very difficult to defend. You, as a defender, you have to question, you know, do we come in and take away the short game? Well, then we give her lots of holes to spray the ball. Do we play back? Well, right now, first and third behind the base, just one strike, she could still drop it down. And so it's just this constant challenge on defense. And when you have a busy mind on defense, when you're thinking a lot, you're not as quick on the field, and that's what Fiedler can do to you.
Hattigas now coming with the 2-2 pitch. Just missed outside. Nice location, but couldn't get Fiedler to chase.
And to the portal's point, that's exactly why the portal is so important. You know, you never want to see players trade their loyalty for playing opportunities, but in this situation, Tennessee was looking, and they came away with a really dynamic leadoff hitter to replace the dominant Kiki Malloy from last year.
So Fiedler on base for the third time, and she has yet to have a hit. Little putt-putt going on out there. I mean, literally, there's something like every booth.
Now, that's the game I would like to play. I love to, don't get to golf enough, but I love to play golf. And, yeah, that's pretty tight hole there for the ball, though.
Well,
give it a shot.
To that conversation, Carol, so you asked us what our favorite candies are. I'm curious what you would grab out of the pumpkin as your prize if you were able to hit the ball in the mouth.
Well, I would not turn down any Halloween candy, first of all.
First available.
Let's make that just clear right from the get-go. I do not discriminate, number one. But I'm kind of on that, you know, the candy corn, the little pumpkin marshmallow things. Wow. Like, you know, people are either in or out with those things. I really do like the candy corn and all the different shapes. And, you know, oddly, sometimes Peeps are kind of one of those other things that's people are in or
look
out.
at that. My goodness. Yeah, everybody say, yes, there's no call, so she's safe. What happened was that ball was squibbed by Panel. It started out in foul territory and spun over into fair.
Well, and the crazy thing about this is it's a forced play at the plate. So all you have to do is shuffle that pass to the plate, and I thought that she maybe got it there before the slide happened. It did not require a tag. It was a forced play at the plate. I think it actually caught the home plate umpire by surprise as well.
And credit to the Tennessee offense there with Leach, not hesitating, just taking off. And you tell your players that all the time. You know, we don't play umpire. Run it out, play it out, finish the play. If you got to go back, they'll bring you back. And a lot of times players do play umpire, and I believe that's foul, or I'm not going to go, because no hesitation there from Leach. She took off right away and got the Vols another run.
And no disagreement from the Kentucky dugout.
Well, and there's no replay, so there's no need to argue it, but that will definitely be something that they talk about in practice. When you talk about Leach, maybe people remember the Aubrey Leach that played at Tennessee. So the younger sister now coming in, and so fast. That family, so many wheels.
The other thing is, it shows the importance of, even if it does hit in foul ground, you got to be going hot and heavy in case something like that happens. It's a pretty off-speed pitch. And Boo Gibson got a little spin to wheel. Either get trick or treat, right?
Well, and it's such a fun event to come to, but as a parent, you better be aware your kid's going home with a lot of candy. And tomorrow's a school day.
Right.
So maybe don't let them consume it all while they sit and watch this great softball game.
Candy may or may not be dinner tonight.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking about the candy corn and the candy pumpkins. Would that be considered seasonal fruit?
No. I'll tell you what is a lost art, though, is people that used to make the popcorn balls that they would give out. You just don't find many popcorn balls anymore, but they're still really, really good.
I don't know that I'm trusting a stranger to form my popcorn ball. I'll have to ask my mom to make it for me.
Wow.
I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the most fearless hitters in the history of college softball.
Who knew her fear was popcorn? I know, right?
No, her fear is not popcorn. Her fear is Granny who's making the popcorn.
Hansel and Gretel, did you not know the story? Come on.
Wow.
Gotta be careful out there.
They asked for help down there.
Now, with bases loaded, though, it's hard to get an accurate call on that because you're in a three-person.
I get that. So the first base umpire's in a hole there at second, and then he looks down to the third base umpire, and the third base umpire can't possibly see that, right?
No chance.
That ball, boy, that was trouble, but that's nicely played out there and left by Mitchell. Tennessee extends the lead. It's 6-0, Lady Vols.
How am I gonna find a doctor when I'm hallucinating? What do you think?
Joined by UK Athletics Director Mitch Barnard. Understanding is this is your first Big Blue Boo.
It is. I've always been out of town. I have not been around very much. My family comes.
Yes.
But what Coach Lawson does for our community, number one, is amazing. Number two, the effort that she puts into it with her staff is ridiculous. If you come walking around here to get, number one, to promote the community, to promote the game of softball, and to bring young people into our stadium and give them a chance to have a really cool afternoon is a really neat deal.
It is.
Well, and here at Kentucky, you brought Coach Lawson in when the program was having a little bit of a stub toe. And what do you think Coach Lawson has been able to do with it?
Well, what she's done has been amazing. All the years she's been into the NCAA tournament is just a part of the story for her. The rest of it is getting to the College World Series and doing all the different things that she does for Kentucky. She understands how important athletics is to our community. She's a big part of our community, and not the least of which she has done some incredible things in helping young women become incredible leaders in this area. They stay here, they work here, and they are a big part of the university, the fabric of the University of Kentucky.
And Mitch, she certainly does that, but I think one of the biggest reasons is she follows your lead. I remember one of the very first conversations we had when you became athletics director. We had head coaches in Olympic sports that weren't full-time employees, that didn't have health coverage, and yet they were being expected to succeed at the highest level. As there's a leadoff single from Allie Bloom, but you put the pieces in place. That was one of the very first things you did.
Well, we did, but it starts at the very, very top. And we had a president, Lee Todd, who said that was important to him. He wanted all people to be able to participate in college athletics, not just our men's basketball program and our football program. We know how it all works. Those pieces have to be fundamentally sound, and to put those, all the other financial pieces and resources in place. But Dr. Todd said that's going to be an important part of my leadership here at the University of Kentucky. And so for 10 years, I worked under a fabulous president, Lee Todd, and then along came Eli Capilouto, and he has been absolutely outstanding in terms of continuing that mission for college athletics. And we're going through a transformational time in college athletics.
Yes, you are.
And it's really difficult. And what is most important to all of us on staff is that we make sure that we keep generational opportunity alive. We keep generational finance for these young people to be able to begin to establish themselves in their lives. And then the third piece is we're trying to create generational leaders. And I want to make sure that we do that effectively well. And so don't want to lose that for all the transformation that happens. And all of it is there's fundamentally some things that are very, very good about it. But we have got to get it right.
Well, and the cool thing is some numbers came out this past week about softball in general, about the viewership and the popularity of the sport and how it's been growing.
Yeah, so actually we're working with the Southeastern Conference, and we've obviously done so much on the SEC network to promote all of our sports. And so we were looking at minutes watched over a 5-year stretch from like 17 through 22. We haven't got the figures come in a little bit later as you go. Softball had 2.4 billion minutes watched in that 5-year period of time.
Wow.
That's a lot of minutes. It was 4th of all the sports that the SEC network was covering, behind football, obviously football, men's basketball, and then you had women's basketball,
right,
and softball, and then just below that was baseball. And I say that because we've got a lot of minutes watched for all of our sports programs.
Sir.
But when you think about, and obviously you've got a lot of games you're playing, but when you've got a sport that is doing 2.4 billion minutes watched,
right,
that is a significant number.
Absolutely. So the Wildcats now here in the home half of the 3rd inning. First 2 runners on, and Mackenzie Bump trying to get somebody in. You talked about that work with the Southeastern Conference. Not only have you led this athletic department so well, but you chaired the D1 basketball committee during COVID. You were on the men's college playoff football committee as that bunt is laid down, and that'll advance both runners, and she beat it out at first. So Mackenzie Bump trying to sacrifice, and she turns it into a base hit. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. But to speak to that, you're now the dean of folks in the Southeastern Conference, and during this transformational time, there are a lot of people that come to you looking for your leadership and your advice.
Well, I think that this is a time where, having a lot of voices talking together is important as best we can without colluding and getting ourselves in all sorts of trouble.
Right.
But we have to find a way to a pathway forward. And so it's been an honor to hold this position for a number of years, and thankful for that. Had 2 great commissioners. I've worked with Mike Slive, who's passed away a little bit ago, and Greg Sankey, who's a dear friend of mine. The network is 10 years old. We had a chance to launch that. It's 10 years old this year, which is really amazing. You look at all the things that have happened in college athletics, and so when I saw my good friend Scott Strickland last night down in Gainesville,
right,
and that was, it was great to see him, and so we have an opportunity to visit about, hey, what's best about college athletics? What are we trying to preserve? What do we want to do to step forward? How do we make sure that we do those things? So it's not, I think change is going to come. The question is, how do you address change? Is it a steroid injection that just eases the pain for a bit?
Right.
Or is it something that gives you a chance to sustain an 8 to 10 to 15 year couple generations of athletes coming through before you have to adjust again? And I'm hopeful that that's where we get, that we're not in this position of just saying, okay, we're going to do this really quick fix, because that'll solve it, and that'll put a Band-Aid on it for just a bit. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is make sure that we've got something that spans the test of time and gives us a little bit of opportunity to grow a little bit.
So Reesner's liner to center, great play out there by Fiedler, but it turns into a sac fly as Allie Bloom tags and scores and gets the Wildcats on the board. So you've got all these guys out there. You talked about Scott. You have got Mark Coyle out there. You have got Greg Byrne down at Alabama. You've got Rob Mullins out at Oregon. Those guys. Oh, I forgot about Peavy up at DePaul. I don't think about him because they don't have football, but your guys surely don't ever disagree with you in any of these meetings where you're trying to decide things, do they?
Yeah, so you got Cohen at Auburn.
Oh, gosh, I forgot about that.
And we got Saul at Kevin Saul at Wichita State.
Wichita State, that's right.
Those are my guys. If they vote against me, it's really frustrating. We don't talk for weeks.
For an hour or so.
It's ridiculous, These are really hard conversations we're having. We do. We get along fabulously well. We don't always
It's a great
agree.
group.
It's interesting. I always have I told the commissioner, said it's fascinating when your seat changes from place to place. Like, one of these guys changes from one AD chair to a different school. Your vote changed. All of a sudden, I said, "You're voting differently."
That's exactly right.
What in the world? Because, well, wherever your seat is landed is where you find yourself voting. I said, "All right, I got you."
Situational awareness.
That's right.
Well, and you also talked, Mr. Barnhart, about how you try to affect generations, but you also are such a good leader. What is it that you see in this softball program that has built leaders, and how has Rachel Lawson been able to build that in her program?
Well, first off, I think what Rachel has done from the very beginning is she is self-made. You know, I say that, and she would deny that because that's as humble as she is. But Rachel was self-made. She came from a very large family and out west, and she went to UMass, and she found a way to, you know, grab a softball scholarship and get her graduate, her bachelor's degree, and then she began her coaching career, and she just worked. And I think she is a great example to young women about how to build your life, and she has done that. She has built her career. She's built programs, and she has built young women, and I think that's what she does just fabulously well. And so I think that's why this program has excelled in so many ways. We haven't won everything every year, but you look at the wall, and the wall's pretty impressive. I don't know how many years in a row we got going. It's pretty good. And then you've got the Super Regionals over here, and somewhere there's the College World Series out there on the wall. And a lot of people would love to be able to say they've accomplished what she's accomplished here. And you do it in an environment that I would say is arguably not a weather-favorable climate for softball.
Correct.
We play many a game when there's sleet and snow coming across the field, and it's cold, and you're down there in parkas, and there's 100 people in the stands. You know, I get it. And but so thankful that we've got somebody like Rachel that leads our program and continues to guide women. We live out in Frankfort, Kentucky, and we go to Midway for a time. And we've got a softball player, Rachel Riley, who's got a dental practice that she has out in Midway that just services the specific to some of the folks in the equine industry.
Yep.
Just incredible. Just those are the kind of things I read Megan All, who she's got a dental practice out in Owensboro, Kentucky. And you know, so you sit here and you watch some of our people. Megan Prince was back, somebody said today, and they said she moved back there. So I mean, it's great to see alumni. Number one, they want to come back and be around good people, and that speaks to Rachel Lawson.
Absolutely. And I think it speaks all the way through your program. I mean, it's, you know, everybody has got a different life story. But there are so many. Obviously, you've produced a number of great athletes that have played professionally, but then you've just also, like you said, you could go down the list of the sports, the numbers of people that have gone through here as student athletes that are now leaders in our communities, and certainly softball folks as well.
Oh, absolutely. And we're looking at the screen right there that's got the All-Americans on it, you know, and you've got Molly Johnson and Kelsey Nunley and Kayla Kowalik and Abby Cheek and Katie Reed, just to name a few.
Right.
I may have missed one. I probably missed one in there somewhere. You know, So Erin Koffel, the latest one of all,
right?
Who, the home run queen of our deal here, and so, you know, it's just been it's a great environment, and I'm thankful that we've got a good leader in our program, and I think the really cool thing is to watch our head coaches and the way they come along. Rachel and Coach Minge talk all the time, our baseball coach.
Yep.
They talk all the time. And it's obviously the sports are similar, but they're different. But they talk about locker rooms and how you grow the culture and what you try and do. And they've learned off each other really well, which I think is really cool. I don't see that in a lot of departments. You don't see that. You see a lot of animosity or so I want mine before you get yours, and that's not what this is about. They've been tremendous in taking care of one another.
So now Hamilton hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. You saw Hutchins come in, and the Wildcats have cut the lead to 4.
From the homer's perspective, we're going to try and go yard and tie this up here.
My guess is if they do, you're not going to want to leave the booth.
I'm right here.
Or they're not going to want you to leave the booth.
We may have you the rest of the game.
And here's Madison Clark stepping in. Clark, another one of the transfers from Oregon State. A junior from Claremont, California. As the bags are juiced and 2 outs. That's going to be a tough play now. There you go. Didn't think it was going to be that tough. But that little grounder is going to produce 2 runs. And all of a sudden, the Tennessee lead has been cut to 2.
Well, maybe Lawson's going to tell you have to stay up here in the booth.
she might make me travel with him or something. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, and defensively, you've got to be aggressive on this ball. And so the third baseman coming over, Gibson trying to grab that ball, nips it enough to be able to just push it out of the way of the shortstop, Maylard. That's one of those plays that you have to be aggressive to. And if you aren't aggressive, then it'll eat you up. but sometimes being aggressive will give you that tipped leather that will produce some runs, and because of that, we're going to see a change in the circle, Buzz.
Aaron Newer is out. Mitch, thank you so much for everything you do. Thanks for taking the time. I know when you get a little bit of time like today, you're here with the family, and we so appreciate you being here with us.
That was a late night getting in, but from a disappointing night in Gainesville, and then that was we were certainly disappointed in how we played and the result for our football program. Where we've got some work to do to get back where we want to be, but. Again, we've got a lot of good things going on, not the least of which is going on. It's an absolutely incredible day. Literally thousands of people in the ballpark today, and so I'm glad everybody has had a chance to enjoy the fellowship of the season and some really some great young athletes out here and some coaches that put some really good products on the field.
We've asked everybody this question.
Yeah.
Favorite Halloween candy?
Scott, it's probably. Am I supposed to talk about a product? You know,
you can.
So it's probably either Almond Joys or Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. I got a grandson, Reese. I better throw that in there. So
I got you. Thanks, Mitch. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
UK Athletics Director Mitch Barnhart done such an awesome job with this entire athletics program, and recognized as one of the leaders in college athletics around the country. And so we take a look now at Peyton Tanner, who is coming to pitch. We appreciate Mitch being here. And while all that's happened, the Cats have gotten themselves back into this game, ladies.
I fully expected him to stay in the booth, knowing the way that superstitions kind of work, and if things are going well, you don't move. But he does exit the booth, and perhaps that'll change the tide for Kentucky. That's exactly what Tennessee is hoping as they put Peyton Tanner in the circle, the young freshman.
Kind of a tough luck sort of day, I would say, for Newer. She goes 2 2/3, gives up 3 hits, 4 runs, 2 were earned. She struck out 3, walked 2. 62 pitches, and she's responsible for everybody who is still on the bag. So just a reset. Hamilton is at second, Clark is at first, and Delaney Sullivan behind in the count, 0-1. Sullivan trying to go the opposite way, and this is the first time, maybe the last time we have to mention it today, but for those of you who've not been with us, the sun goes down behind the first base dugout, and out in left field, Taylor is fighting that sun hard out there where Sullivan is trying to go.
Well, and for the second time in this game, you've got Sullivan in a really tight situation, needing to put the ball in play. Last time up, watched a changeup away for a looking strikeout to end the inning. Now an opportunity with runners at first and second, needing to punch this ball through the infield.
And there's that squibber she was looking for. Christine Himes started waving Hamilton home and then quickly put on the brakes. And now she put on the brakes because you go back to the top of the order, right?
Well, it's not many times. I mean, Kentucky, we talked about it earlier. We saw 3 quick outs. In this inning, they've now batted around, and that's exactly what they needed to do. And down 6-0, you want to see what your team's going to do. Yes, you want to show that fight. You want to show that ability to compete, and we've seen that from Kentucky. And, you know, nothing says fall softball, though. I do have to admit, when you look up and you see 7 errors on the scoreboard, and we're not even through 3 innings. I mean, that is something we do not see quite a bit in the spring. But again, a lot of people out of position, playing new positions, new combinations. Right. And you think, yeah, these players have played softball forever. It's catch and throw. But, you know, when you have to make decisions, the speed of the game is faster for these freshmen. I mean, it's no surprise that we've got 10 runs scored here and we're not even through 3 innings.
Well, and you think about that play that just happened over there at third base, not in the last at bat, but against Hallie Mitchell, when it tips off of a glove, that's all about distances, right? And when you can trust, when you know your shortstop as a third baseman, you know your distances. In that situation, it looked as though Mailer had an opportunity to come away with that ball, but they're still getting to know each other over there on the left side. And so distances and timings and defensive sets all still coming together.
Bloom hits one deep to left center, and that's the second great play that we've seen today from Fiedler. She is everything that she has been advertised, and that was a huge play. Inning is over, but not before the Cats get 4 runs on 3 hits, 1 error. They leave 3 on base, and after being down a bunch, Kentucky now trails by 2.
So, who's driving tonight then?
Who's the best driver?
Welcome back. It is the top of the 4th here at the Big Blue Boo. Kentucky was down 6-0. Rachel Lawson's boss, Mitch Barnhart, comes up here to the booth, and they get a 4 spot. That is excellent timing, Coach.
Thanks. I don't know why you're not talking to him still. That would be so. If he's the good luck charm, I don't know why you're talking to me right now.
Well, and to that point, Coach, it was actually after he left the booth that the outs were recorded. So it's definitely on him, and you're going to need to talk to him.
Okay.
I know the play is the main thing, but this deal that you have put on, I mean, this is, I've said this before, I sound like an old guy, but this is such a cool thing.
Yeah, it really is. You know, the fact that the BBN shows out for the event, it's an awesome event. The fact that Tennessee is willing to come play us in this environment in the off season really says a lot about their character as well. But it's just a really cool atmosphere for everybody in Lexington and for my team. Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway.
Meanwhile,
on the softball field.
Back at the ranch.
Yeah. I'm not going to say this has been our best game, but, you know, it does definitely give me a lot of tape and a lot of things to talk about and work on in the offseason.
In terms of that, Rachel, I mean, how far along are you? Is this your no, you've got one more. But have you seen enough so far here in the fall to know what you want to do with the lineup in the spring?
Yeah, no question. You know, right now, some of the mistakes are kind of on me because I've mixed the defense up quite a bit and they haven't settled in. We have an entirely new infield, so that's something. And, you know, Borzilari's are, you know, everyday first baseman, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of mistakes over there. You know, Hutch plays some third base and stuff like that, but we're just trying to really figure out. We have a couple elite hitters that we're trying to figure out where to put them and where everybody plays their secondary position the best.
Well, and when you look at this event, it has grown. This is the 4th year of Big Blue Boo. But I think you need to give some attention to some of the biggest help that you get, and that's from Terry Johnson and Crystal Belcher.
Oh, yeah, no question. The mom squad. So, you know, it's Molly's, Coach Molly's mother and her mother-in-law. You know, a lot of this brainchild is theirs with me. So we start working on things right away, and then they come in and they make things happen. But, you know, we have a lot of help now. If you look at all the lime green shirts going on everywhere, so the athletic department's really bought in as well. So, you know, it's a total family effort. It's a community effort. It's, you know, everybody in the BBN. I don't have enough time to thank everybody that works on this event, but it's really cool. It means a lot to me.
Did I hear that you go out and buy a lot of this stuff too?
Yes. So the toys and all that. Kroger donates the candy, so I think that's really cool that Kroger chips in. But yeah, a lot of the expense does come from me.
Well, Rachel, you know, I'm noticing the shirt, the swag you got on.
You like that?
When I walked in the door, I saw Brittany Cervantes and said, that's a really cool shirt. And I said, who designed that? And, I mean, you have your hands all over this thing, literally, because she's like, that was Coach Lawson's idea. So I'm impressed with your graphic design.
No, so I have Kim Troxel, who's part of our graphic design team, has actually been designing our Halloween T-shirts since. This used to be a practice, and it blew up into this event. So she's been doing it forever. So that's all her, all the designs. When you see the really cool graphics and everything, she's the one. I just say, hey, can we do whatever, and she makes it come to life.
Well,
so.
You need to know that Cervantes gave you credit. So A, that's A. But B, we've been asking everyone the most important question of the day, and that is, what is your favorite Halloween candy?
You know, I like just plain chocolate. I am, you know, as boring as they come, but I don't want anything in it. I want chocolate, and I love milk. So, you know.
That's the only thing that goes with coffee, right?
Yeah, that's true. I do
Your
drink a
major
lot of
food group.
I do drink a lot of coffee. But although I've really gotten into those like nerd things that, you know, it's like gummy on the inside.
Nerd clusters?
Well, yeah, clusters. Is that what that is? That I got to be honest with you, I have gotten into that when I'm driving recruiting.
I'm not gonna lie, those are my
Those are
a
pretty good.
guilty pleasure. Those are good things.
Yes, they're awesome. They don't make me sick either, which is great. Usually candy, I'm like, too much. That I could just all day. So
Well, there'll be a lot of that happens here tomorrow, and that's going to get the run in. It's a hot shot off the glove of Bump, and that's just another example of what you're talking about, Rachel. I know you've been working Bump a lot at second. She moves back over to third, and it's just kind of a totally different feel.
Well, you know, she is a natural third baseman. That's
Right.
part of the thing that we got going. She's very good. She's an elite player. So is Hutch. So we're trying to, you know, you want both of them in the lineup. So I'm trying to figure out where they're the most comfortable. Right now, they're not very comfortable, so that's not really helping our cause. But, you know, we have all winter to figure it out. The other thing is they're good teammates. They'll do what they need to do. So right now, I don't think this is indicative of the defense we're going to put out in February, but it is good to see what we need to work on.
I don't think we've had a chance to ask you yet. We talked to Karen a little bit. She was not terribly pleased with some of the road games she got in the conference this year. How do you feel about the road that you all will travel?
Oh, I don't think about it a lot, honestly. The thing that's so tough about our road schedule this year is all 4 trips that we have that are away are flights. So, you know, you want to play Tennessee in the regular season because it's a huge rival between Tennessee and Kentucky. You want to be able to drive places, that sort of thing. But, you know, it's an unbalanced schedule no matter how you look at it. It's unbalanced every year. And with the power of the SEC, I mean, it's really the luck of the draw.
Well, and everybody says it just means more, but what does the addition of Oklahoma and Texas do to this league this year?
Oh, it does everything. I mean, there's only a couple other teams in the country that, you know, if you were to bring them in, you might as well have the World Series in the SEC. So, like, it means a lot. The other thing that happens is, and I believe this is going to happen for the SEC, is we're going to elevate. You know, Oklahoma is clearly the team that needs to be knocked off. Texas is a very good team as well, but just them coming in the league and us seeing them every single day, not just in the postseason, but seeing them week in and week out, seeing what they do recruiting, doing all the things that we have to do in league, I think it's going to elevate the SEC even more than we are now.
Well, Coach, you've had it just year after year after year. You just get to the postseason, different types of teams, different personnel. You always find a way there. When you look at last year and you look at reloading now, your team, a few transfers, some freshmen, a lot of new position players, you know, what is your biggest challenge as you look ahead, and what would you like to see from your team as you head into February and setting the tone for the season?
Well, you know, I had to do some changes. You know, I had to change the way I coach. I had to change the way I recruit. You know, I'm very loyal. I'm, you know, kind of true blue in that way. And so, you know, the transfer portal and all that sort of stuff, it was, you know, I had to come to peace with things like that. We had to size up, I'll be honest with you. Now, we do have some players on our team that aren't quite, you know, 6 feet tall, but pound for pound, they're very strong. So we're going to continue to work in the weight room and stay strong. But more importantly, you got to clean up the defense. I know the home runs and the big hits, that's what you see on TV. But the score would not be 7-4 if both of us were playing good defense. You know, we would be a lot further along than the fourth inning or third inning, whatever we're in. And so you got to tighten that up. You've got to make sure. And, you know, I think we're coming out here a little bit timid. Now, that's understandable because we're a little bit younger, and just about everybody on my team is new out on the infield. So this is their first big environment that they've played in, which I'm very thankful that the crowd showed out tonight, because this really shows, you know, it's good for us to get in front of this type of atmosphere before we go out in February. But we got to get a lot better on defense. We got to get a lot tougher. We got to bring the energy in, and we got to start trusting ourselves. You know, we need to, you know, have some confidence, you know, get some wins in the off season in terms of just the way we do things. And then we need to come out in February guns a-blazing.
You know, Rachel, the other thing that a lot of people talk about is no matter what the sport is, coaches believe that some of their best teams are the ones that are player-led teams.
Oh, yeah.
And you've had some unbelievable leaders here that not only did it with their play, as that ball is hit over to the right side. But we'll have to continue this at another time as the inning's over. But I know you're looking for leaders to step up.
Oh, yeah, no question. And here's the thing about, I love our team.
Yeah.
Their attitude is great, their work ethic, they bring that stuff every day. And they are leaders. I mean, they're leaders in life. They're leaders in academically. They're exceptional. They're leaders in the classroom. They will be leaders on the softball field, but no question. People have to stand up, step up, be comfortable, telling people what's up, which we're doing that a little bit, but we're just very nice. And we just got to get comfortable, a little confidence. And I have no doubt that I've got a lot of leaders in this dugout. I'm looking forward to when they, reach their, get up to their potential, who they're meant to be.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to you stepping up later in this game. We don't want folks to go anywhere. See you, Rachel.
See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye. UK's Rachel Lawson. It's 7-4, Tennessee. Bottom of the fourth at John Kropp Stadium. Kentucky has cut a 6-run Tennessee lead down to 3. The Lady Vols lead it 7-4 here in the home half of the fourth inning. Head coach Karen Weekly, kind enough to join us from down there in the dugout. And Karen, your young ladies were really barreling it up at the start of this game.
Yeah, I thought we had some really good at-bats, and it was nice to get off to a fast start. We got freshmen throwing for us, so that should have settled them down a little bit to, go out there with runs on the board.
Well, and what's this matchup like for you guys in the fall? Very rarely do you get to have an SEC opponent this early in a season for a team.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to, play another SEC team, and it works because we're so close together. You can't travel that far in the fall, but anytime that, we're not on each other's schedule, Rachel and I have agreed to do this, and what a cool atmosphere and environment, the Big Boo game and everything that Rachel and her staff and her team do to put this on and make it a really fun event for families and kids. And, they've drawn an amazing crowd. So I know 70 degrees really helps, too.
Yeah, absolutely,
It
right?
sure does. And, Coach, just such an amazing accomplishment, back-to-back SEC championships. How much do you talk about that with your current team? Obviously, some of the players on the field were a part of that every day, but you got a lot of new players as well. And how much do you talk about that as you go into this season and really use that momentum heading into the 25 season?
It's a point of pride, and all the credit goes to the players because this is a tough league. No question, the toughest league in the country. And I think what you do over a 24-game schedule really speaks volumes about your team and not just the talent, but how they show up every day and how they work in the fall to prepare themselves, but then also how they show up every weekend because the SEC is a grind and it can really wear you down physically and mentally. And, we've had great leadership these last couple of years, and they just come, ready to play every day. And, we still got one over there at third base in Boo Gibson, and she's doing some really awesome things, leading this team and building up other leaders for us as well.
And we just saw Mackenzie bump.
Yeah, and I want to know where that pitch was. You guys saw it.
It was not over the plate.
Oh, Carol.
Was it in the batter's box?
It might have had a little water in the river.
Yeah, she crowds the plate, and I proposed a rule change that we need to make those hitters get out of the way because it's just a strategy. Take advantage of it, toe it up, and if you're towing it up, I'm telling you, your elbow to your fingertips is going to be outside the batter's box. So
Carol was able to spy you earlier in the game using the headset signal and realizing we didn't have replay today.
Yeah.
I loved it. I would have replayed that too.
Oh, yeah. I thought she might have got in there. It's certainly one that we would have gone to replay on.
Oh, my gosh. Coach, let me ask you this.
Can I yell at the umpires?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. No, seriously.
Just keep it clean if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will.
Meantime, back at the ranch, we were talking about the fact, and you have talked about this, you've always had playmakers. You were just talking about Boo, and Fiedler has made some big-time plays here today, both with the bat and out in the field.
Oh, she's special. She is really special. And, she was a product of the early recruiting. I think she committed 8th, 9th grade or something like that.
Wow.
So she's a player I didn't really watch that much in travel ball because she was off the board so early. Really just knew her more by reputation. And she's so much better than I even had a clue. And that's nothing against her. That's on me. But she's a leader. She's a competitor. She's got a swagger about her. And she has just locked down center field. A big question mark coming into the season was who's going to play center field and lead off for us.
Right.
Because, we've had Kiki Malloy in that spot for 4+ years, counting the COVID year. And Kinsey just, 1 week, 2 weeks into practice, it was a no-brainer. And I just really love her game and love what she's doing for us.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun to watch, just even in the fall, just competing like a championship's on the line.
Whoa.
Go ahead.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Hey, she's not leaving the plane. She's not leaving the plane. No, she's not. Her heel's still in contact. Come on.
Sorry.
No, you're
You
spot
don't
on.
need to be sorry. That was really good.
No, that is spot on because that definitely needs to be addressed. She is not leaving the plate.
She's not leaving the plane of the rubber.
Nope,
No.
she is not. The heel does come up, but that is not against the rules.
Yeah.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, since this is the Big Blue Boo, we have been asking everyone we've had on headset, and we've had Mitch Barnhart here. We've had the director of the operations of this event, Coach Lawson. We're going to ask you the same question. What is your favorite Halloween candy, Coach Weekly?
Oh, I'm a peanut butter cup kind of gal.
Yes.
But, it used to, and I still love Reese's, but now I've discovered these things at Trader Joe's where it's dark chocolate with peanut butter in the middle of the cup.
Yes.
And that is, that's not just a Halloween candy, that's a year-round candy at our house.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you're so busy during the season, and what's it been? Is it 2 years that Ralph had mid-coaching, or am I?
This is year 4 that
Year
I'm
4.
entering. Yeah.
So do you send him out to do all these errands and everything while you're working now?
Okay, the man loves Costco, loves Trader Joe's. He's the shopper in the family. If it was up to him, we'd go shopping every off day. He can hang out at a mall. He can go to outlet malls. The girls love it because whenever he's along, they know we're stopping to shop somewhere. I can't stand it. Yeah, it's a role reversal. I'm the one sitting on a bench while he's trying on clothes.
Well, and Coach Weekly, you mentioned it's the 4th year that he's out. It was actually year 1 of Big Blue Boo that he was not coaching. He was up here in the booth talking with us. So you've had changes again in your coaching staff this past year. So with the departure of Chris Malveaux, you've brought in another husband-wife combination. Introduce us to those new coaches.
Yeah, really fortunate that Craig Snyder was available, because he was a great assistant coach for years, hitting coach at Florida State, when they made their national championship run in 2018. Was there for 8 years. Then he went over to Texas A&M, did a really nice job there with Joe Evans, and then got the head job at Texas Tech. And, it's rare that you see somebody, hang on, I got to watch this play here.
No.
Get behind it. Oh, come on. We can do better than that.
And that's a sacrifice fly that gets bumped home. And remember, she reached as a result of hit by pitch.
Yeah.
And that cuts the score to 7-5.
Yeah. Well, it's been a bit of a messy game on both sides. They kind of started off that way, and I guess it got contagious, and we decided to follow suit there in the bottom of the 3rd. But, that's okay. It's putting us in some situations that are helping us grow. But anyway, back to Craig. It's not often that someone who has head coaching experiences wants to, look at going back to being an assistant coach, and it was really just the perfect fit for all of us. It gets him closer to home. He was raised in Franklin, Kentucky, and that's where his family still is. And his wife, Stephanie, they just got married in June, and she's from Lima, Ohio. So it got them both closer to home. And the cool thing is, we needed a hitting coach, but then we also needed somebody to do the catching in the outfield. And it was just a perfect fit that was Stephanie's niche as well. So, people might think I just look to hire husbands and wives, and I don't. Especially the women, I'm like, I know me, I wouldn't have wanted to get hired because of a spouse. I want to be able to stand on my own 2 feet.
Sure.
So I'm going to hire women that I know can stand on their own 2 feet, and Stephanie Sanders certainly can.
Well, and I think the thing about it, too, Karen, is obviously great players and great people have been attracted to your program for the time that you have been there. And so it's not a surprise that great coaches are attracted there as well.
Well, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. I like to think we have a culture that people want to be a part of. We have a lot of fun. We work hard, but we celebrate along the way. Every small accomplishment, big accomplishment, whatever it is, we want to have fun while we're doing it. So, yeah, we've been able to get some really good people in this program, and it is all about the players. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, that was the biggest roar from the crowd. I was just going to say, we might have a balloon delay here, but...
Panel's got some hops.
You know...
I know.
To
She's
the
like
rescue.
the shortest one in the infield out there, and she jumps up and gets the balloons. Yeah.
Please ask her if she's ever had to get balloons off the softball field, ever in a softball game. You know, but we talk a lot about the SEC, and it's so much fun to have both these teams, you know, both your team and Kentucky in a fall game. But we've got 2 new kids on the block coming in Texas and Oklahoma. Just your thoughts on that heading into 25 season.
You know, the strongest conference just got stronger. You know, I think Texas will come out the gate ranked #1. They should, based upon what they did last year. And, you know, people are talking about the class OU graduated, but they just reload, you know. So they're both going to come in and make a lot of noise in the SEC. But, you know, I don't think it's going to be different for any of us because, you know, we're still only going to play 8 opponents. And I really don't even think you can look at your schedule and say, oh, we've got a strong one or not a strong one, because when you're sending every team in your conference to postseason play, every schedule's strong. I think the difference might be for those 2 coming in, knowing that every weekend in SEC play, they're playing a NCAA team.
Well, and the other thing as well about all of that, Karen, is, you know, nobody talks smack, especially coaches, but I mean, you guys have got a really good thing going here in the SEC in general, and they've got to come in and show that they can compete in this conference, and it's different than the conference they were in.
Well, it's just different because, you know, what we talked about right off the bat with our team winning those back-to-back championships, that week in, week out physical and mental grind. And it doesn't matter how talented you are, that can really get to you. And I think that's what's going to be so different is, you know, there's just no gimmies. And to be able to play through that emotionally, you know, to hope that you stay healthy enough to play through that as well. But you're right, it is just very different. And, you know, this league does things different. I mean, it really does just mean more. And that starts with the commissioner on down. And they're first class all the way, everything we do in this conference.
Well, Coach, you've been at Tennessee for 24 seasons. You've seen how the game has changed and evolved and grown. What is it that has maybe changed the most for the hat that you wear now as coach?
Well, I think it's 2 things. Technology, which you hear people say that a lot, but, you know, there's just so many more ways to watch your opponents and prepare for them. And then the second thing is the size of our staffs and our rosters. You know, I've got 25 young women on this roster, and heck, probably a staff of 10 or 12. I don't know. I mean, they're just a lot. You know, everybody's got 4 managers, and you've got your director of ops, and, you know, your analytics and your player development and your full coaching staff. And that, in addition to your athletic trainer, your weights coach, there's just a lot of people that are helping these student athletes become the very best version of themselves. I have found for me that transition from co-head coach to head coach, obviously I took on more of the global things in the program that Ralph might have done before, but also staffs grew at about that time. And they've grown quite a bit in the last 5 years. So a lot of my job right now is managing people and helping people, you know, do their jobs to the best of their ability and putting them in positions to be successful. I don't get to do the one-on-one coaching, technique coaching in all phases of the game like I used to, but I've got some really good people doing that.
Coach, what have you been most impressed with this team this fall?
You know, we did not have what I would call a bad practice from just a mental standpoint until earlier this week. And I truly believe it's because it was a week where we just had a lot of exams and a lot of things going on, and I've got a really academically motivated team. And that's what impressed me so much is they just came to work every day. We are young, we have a lot of depth, but we're pretty inexperienced with our depth. But they've just been working really hard, and to have a group this young, to not really have a mental lapse until your 5th week of fall ball, that says a lot about them.
Karen, thank you so much for your time. It's always great visiting with you. You're always so gracious with your time, and tell Ralph to make sure to look for the sales items at Costco.
I will. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Karen.
you.
Take care.
All right.
Appreciate you. Karen Weekly. And we're coming back to Lexington with more right after this. Alexia Lacatena misses inside the panel.
It's been fun to watch the evolution of Lacatena in the circle. She came in with high hopes her freshman season, coming off of an Olympic appearance for Italy. And as she has thrown behind some really big arms here at Kentucky, she has struggled to make those constant improvements year to year. But it's neat to see her having success here in this fall game against Tennessee.
Taylor Panel, 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs, singled in the first, doubled in the second, singled in the third. Tennessee with 7 runs on 9 hits and 2 errors. As that ball's fouled back. In Kentucky, what about this line? When did you think you'd ever see 5 runs, 4 hits, 6 errors, 7 left on base?
That's too many numbers in a lot of those columns. I know that they're excited that they were able to rebound there in the 3rd inning to put a big 4 spot up on the board and change the tide, the kind of the momentum.
Boy,
tattooed right back at Lacatena on that one. And it's that rise ball, right? When a rise ball sits flat, it leaves you vulnerable for that hard hit ball. But I'm impressed that Lacatena is showing some leadership on the infield, turning around, talking to her defense after getting hit hard on that pitch.
The panel has been on time and on plane all day. Just sits back, drives from her backside. And anytime you hit a ball right back up the middle, you know you are on time. And she's been, really like her in that 2 spot this fall behind Fiedler, who's just, just dynamite and at the top of the order. That's a tough 1-2 punch.
And Panels had a ton of at-bats last season, hit just a tick under 300. So to be able to have that kind of bat in the 2 spot is so important for Tennessee.
Nice turn right there. And they get the double play. And that's the kind of defense that Rachel Lawson has been looking for, as Boo Gibson hit one hard and it turns into a 4-6-3 double play.
Well, you gotta love the way that the second baseman just gets this one and a nice short throw over to the shortstop. And that's the textbook double play. I mean, that's the kind of defense that you expect out of these 2 programs that's been a little lacking this game.
That was Maddie Clark, the Oregon State transfer, who was able to field that ball cleanly and quickly get it to second. And Reisner able to finish things off.
Well, just thinking of a lot of the mistakes we've seen. Yes, we've seen a couple throwing, receiving errors, but a lot of it starts, with the footwork, and defense starts with your feet. Feet number 1, and communication number 2, and then your hands. And a lot of people make the mistake of just reaching or lunging with their glove in their hands, and we've seen that quite a bit today. And it really starts with the feet.
A lot of Olay leaving the ball out wide of our feet and just kind of reaching with the leather, but that one she did get her belly behind it. You got to make sure that you can chest that ball up, because on a hard hit ball, you never know if it's going to take a hard blast or a bump in the wrong direction. And because she got her feet in the right place, she was able to turn that nice little double play.
Lacatena misses upstairs and runs the count to 3-1. I don't know if we had a single 1-2-3 half inning tonight.
We did. It was actually the top, or Kentucky's first at bat, so the bottom of the first, we went 1-2-3.
And then there was an inning where somebody got a walk or a hit and then turned to double play, and so they only faced 3 hitters.
And that was 2 hours ago. So it's no wonder we can't remember. A lot, again, it's something you expect in the fall. Not the amount of mistakes we've seen, but certainly when you're switching pitchers every 2 innings, you're switching the defense every 2 innings, sometimes every 1 inning. You're going to have a lot of those mistakes that really do get shored up by the time you hit February.
And plus the other deal is that, I mean, Jenny's somebody who's connected around this program, right? And we've seen nothing even remotely resembling Candy here in the booth.
I know. I'm a little disappointed in our delivery service.
And a flip to second, and the inning is over. Coming back. You won't want to miss this in a minute. Jenny, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is actually Rachel Lawson, the head coach of Kentucky.
During a fall game, you know the kids out there absolutely loved it. I can promise you her team's going to love that video later. I mean, she had the helmet on, she had the uniform on. I just love the commitment and the big smile on her face as she took her turn in the dunk tank.
And see, you bring up an excellent point, because even at my advanced age, I'm blessed to have an inquisitive mind.
Okay.
So you've got somebody that is sitting on a seat, right? Yes. And they're going to go down approximately 2.5 feet, right?
Yes.
And they're going to go down on their feet. So why does she have a helmet on?
I think it was just to wear the whole uniform because she was in an entire softball.
You think
uniform.
it was for aesthetics?
Yes, I do not think she was worried about hitting her head.
I agree with Jenny. She was just going all in.
She could have kept
committing.
her visor on, right?
Well, but that's a special visor. Did you see how personalized it is today?
Yes, but I'm sure she's got 1,000, right?
Not that are personalized for Big Blue Boo.
Okay. Well, at least they got her out of there. And that ball's hit a bunch. Clark. Wow, and how about Fiedler? That's the third play she has made in the outfield tonight. Wow. Clark came in and looked like she had a solo homer, and Fiedler could not have played that ball any better.
I mean, talk about making an immediate impact on campus for Tennessee. Fiedler for president right now. I mean, that right there, I mean, to be able to snag that ball over the wall, Tennessee was so worried about how they were going to replace Kiki Malloy, and has said, don't worry, I've got you. And Vol Nation is going to be able to rally behind that amazing player out there in center field.
I mean, I always write down if something's a wow play. Buzz has been using that terminology. I just write down wow. I have 3 wows on my sheet just with her because of her ability to just read the ball. And it's one thing to read the ball. That had home run written all over it once it left the bat. And she just read the ball so well. Textbook, getting her right hand, her non-glove hand, her throwing hand out to find the wall, timed her jump perfectly. I tell you what that does. That is a momentum lift for your team. Every time the ball gets hit to the outfield, as a pitcher, you trust it's going to be caught. And just watch right away, drop steps, gets her right hand out, times her jump perfectly. And fire your whole team up, Kinsey Fiedler, because you're firing us up here in the booth.
Well, it is one thing to rob a home run when you're at home, when you've practiced against a wall, but you're on the road. Not only did you just snag a home run, but you were able to do it on the road, which shows that she's got composure on that track back to the wall, felt under her feet that she was at the warning track, put the hand out, tracked it right in.
Let me go ahead and take that one step further.
Yes.
Not only is she on the road, this is the first time she's ever played in this ballpark.
Correct.
I mean, you know, as she came from Washington. So we've got a pitching change here. You see Tennessee up now 7-5, and it was a whisker away from being 7-6. So you've had 3-4 Tennessee pitcher, Panel, Mealer, Nugent. They've all got balls. Vols pitching has given up 4 walks. Kentucky's used 3 different pitchers, and this is now the 4th pitcher. Am I right about that? Why don't I just check instead of guessing? Yes, this will be the 3rd pitcher. Newer started, then Tanner came in, and now this is Sage Margetko.
Sage Margetko, she is no stranger to this field because she played a year ago at South Carolina. They played a 3-game series here, very comfortable within the league. There was a coaching change at South Carolina. She decided to go into the portal. Tennessee is very happy to have her. Just one of the liveliest wrists in the SEC. You're going to see a lot of spin from her, really all parts of the zone.
And she faces, with her first batter, the opposite number in Alexia Lacatena. That one missed inside. Lacatena. Blum. And the top of the order for the Wildcats.
Well, Nakatena has been one of those amoebas of a player. She's been able to play some defense over at third base in years past. She's been dominant and so important for them in the circle, but she has been able to swing a pretty good bat for Kentucky as well. So she's had to fill a ton of roles since stepping in as a Wildcat. and this year hoping to be a little bit more consistent at all three of those.
And when you have a pitcher who can hit, it just gives, as a head coach, it gives you so much flexibility with that DP flex position. You don't, if you have a pitcher and they absolutely do not hit, do not run bases, then you don't have quite as much creativity. You have some, but not a lot. But when you have a pitcher who can hit, there's a lot of ways you can use them in that DP flex position and running for them and then coming back out and going out on defense. And just love the versatility that La Catena brings to this Wildcat team.
Full count pitch.
Well, La Catena last season only had 3 at-bats, but the ability to put a bat in her hand so important, because you will come into situations where a pitcher does need to hit for themselves to open up offensive opportunities, to be able to find different matchups in your lineup to go against different pitchers as you go throughout a long season.
To the shortstop. And Mailer across the diamond. And they're 2 away. And here's left fielder Allie Blum. Singled back in the third. Actually hit twice in the third. Singled and then flew out to guess who? Fiedler in center field.
That was one of those wows next to it.
Yes,
on
it
that
was.
one as well.
Yep.
Karen Weekly talked about how excited she was to have Sage Margetko wearing that Lady Vol orange this year in the circle. And she can really spin the ball. She really throws 5 pitches, and there's not many pitchers who can throw 5 pitches. Most can throw 2 well, maybe 3. And for Margetko, Karen Weekly paid her really, I thought, a very nice compliment and said, look, she throws the most pitches as a Lady Vol since Ellen Renfro. And Ellen Renfro, she truly had 5 different pitches as well. So this is just going to be a nice compliment in the circle, having the experience of last year in the SEC and then being able to use all those pitches. You know, as a pitcher, some days you just don't have your rise, you just don't have your drop, and when you have the repertoire of truly throwing 5 pitches, you can still get hitters out because you can spray the ball across the plate.
Well, and if you are that versatile, you then are a great reliever for almost anyone on your staff, because if you're able to spin the ball both north and south, east and west, you can come behind anyone else in that lineup to be successful.
Down to Gibson. And the Wildcats were on the verge of pulling within 1 to start this inning, but Kinsey Fielder had other ideas. Fiedler over the wall, and the lead remains at 2.
You can't imagine the kind of competitors that they are out on the field when they put on those uniforms. It's so fun to see those little kid pictures to take us back to, you know, yesteryear. Get a little sentimental.
Gabby Leach leads things off. Oh. And we have another pitch. This is Fall, right? I believe that's right. This would be Carson Fall from Bridge City, Texas. Told, which is right there, kind of, if I remember this right, kind of like right on the border with Louisiana. Told she just pitched incredibly well the other night in a shutout win at Louisville. But this is our first chance to see her.
And that's one thing that Coach Lawson has done, is she's challenged this team this fall. They played Louisville, they played Georgetown, they played now Tennessee. They did get rained out of a match earlier, or a game earlier this year, or earlier this fall. And you have to realize that those games have to fall within the weeks that you have scheduled for your fall practices to be within. And Carol, you're no stranger to the rules of softball, and to be able to get it all in the amount of time allotted is difficult at times, depending on weather.
Well, no doubt about it. And you know, speaking of rules, it's something new this year that I think is just great. With the Rules Committee, worked very hard with them to make this change. A lot of times when the rules proposals would go out to coaches, it was in the middle of their season. And the last thing the idea was, well, you're in the middle of the season. What are you seeing that we need to change?
The ball is lifted to left near the track. Boy, and the wind just ate that up. And Mackenzie Bump is a really good player. But every place they have put her tonight, it's like that in the game, right? When you're having one of those nights, the ball will find you.
No doubt. And the thing that's hard for Mackenzie Bump is she has moved from the left side of the field to the right side of the field, back to the left side of the field. And the ball comes off the bat much differently depending on not only the batter. So there, as a left-handed batter, you've got so much spin coming off when you go oppo. And because of that, it tips off her glove. Left field seems to be that location for Kentucky that if something bad's going to happen, it's usually out in left field. And the problem is it causes a ton of problems.
And normally it's because of the sun.
The sun, exactly.
Not a factor here.
No, that was just a left-handed batter with a ton of English off the bat, and it got away from Bump out there in left.
And you know, when you're in the outfield at a corner position with an opposite side hitter there, you know, the ball is always going to tail toward the line. You have to err on the side of going too far to the line, and that's exactly what happened there with Bump. It kept tailing away from her. To your point, Jenny, didn't get her glove around the outside of the ball and finds herself on third base.
And I feel bad for her because she honestly is a great defender. And over there at second base tonight, she was sitting back on the ball, but it's because she's typically a third baseman. And at third base, you don't necessarily charge, you don't necessarily pick your hop. And so at second base, she found herself playing it more like a third baseman. Also, when you change from the left side of the field to the right side of the field, the ball comes off much differently. And so the angles that you have to play are hard to read. And so I love her versatility, but right now she's needing to find a home so that she can start making those reads more effectively.
And do you want to get both her and Hutch in the lineup?
Definitely, because both of their bats will be needed this year.
To the shortstop, Reisner. That's a nice play. Run scores, though, and Tennessee gets one back. And that'll make the score 8-5.
That's just good base running from Sophia Nugent at third base. She sees the angle down, ball goes right into the dirt, bounces past the pitcher, and that was a no-doubter to take off and score from third base. And that is vintage Tennessee. They are going to put the pressure on you, take that extra base, and although the ball wasn't hit hard, it scored a run, and that's exactly what Tennessee wanted to do.
Well, and I'm also impressed with the aggression of Reisner moving through that ball. If she sits back on that, there is too much speed going down the line. That would be safe all day, but because of how hard she charged that ball, it gave her an opportunity to not just pick the ball, but get the out.
Eight to 5. Here in the top of inning number 6. I believe that's, if I can see the number right, it's Amaya Doyle who is pinch hitting for Tennessee. Karen Weekly with a whole host of freshmen on her squad as well. Fall not having the success so far that she had on Thursday night. And Bella Fall comes in to run at first base for Tennessee. So you've got Fall at first and Fall pitching for the Wildcats. And Ryan Brown stands in. Now time is called.
And this is the part of the game where I hope you're scoring with pencil, because there will be so many changes, knowing that both of these coaches want to get a ton of opportunities in for these young players to let them feel what it feels like to play in pressure situations, to wear the uniform, try to get those jitters out before they hit February with their feet running and needing to produce runs and defensive plays, because those games definitely count towards the end of the year.
Ball fouled straight back. I'm just thinking back. I think all the years I've done this, I mean, one of the most spontaneous things I've ever seen tonight was when Karen said, "Can I yell at the umpire?" Yes, you can.
Be your authentic self. That's what we want to see.
Well, it was very polite, you know?
No,
I mean,
it
it's just-
absolutely was. And Fall goes and gets Brown swinging. No, she was incredibly courteous about it.
Well, you know, she's got to get in season form, too. That's
Right.
what the fall's like for her.
Boy, that was a nice rise ball from Fall.
She's got good velocity. You know, this is Jenny's first look at her as well. We're going to see a lot of her this spring,
think
but
we
just
will.
just the velocity she has, and that particular pitch got underneath it. No chance.
Gets Fiedler to ground to second on the first pitch. And the inning is over. Falls get one back. We head to the bottom of the sixth, and it's 8-5. A little bit earlier, we showed you the Kentucky players. And look at these Lady Vols. Aubrey Barnhart did not look especially happy there. Catch at that early age. She probably went up and over the baby gate that her parents had up. Right?
She practiced early. That's exactly. It's true.
Went up and over the crib.
Couldn't contain her even back then. Well, Buzz, do you have a costume that you remember wearing as a young child?
You know, Jenny, I was getting ready to ask that a second ago, you know, but back when I was that age, I was a little fat kid with a burr haircut. We didn't have shoes. Walked barefoot to school, back and forth.
In the snow, uphill both ways?
Well, it was flat. And it did happen, though, because the elementary school was literally right across the street from my house. I'm trying to... I think we probably just did something like put some, like, shoe polish on our face or something, you know, or cut a hole in a pillowcase or something. I mean, it was really pretty rudimentary.
Well, and Carol, this week I saw on social media, Kentucky was asking their players, at what age did you stop trick-or-treating? Do you remember how old you were when you stopped trick-or-treating?
That is a great question. I do not remember. It was not 25, as I'm happy to report.
Wow.
But, you know, I'd have to say, you know, probably like, I got to think I was trick-or-treating through elementary school.
Oh,
I have to believe that. I have to believe that, but I would say probably junior high. You know, you get to that point where you're like too cool for it, but you really do want to do it, but you don't.
Well,
so,
yeah,
what about you?
You want the stash.
You want the
candy.
stash. What about you?
I was the oldest of 4 kids, and so I feel like it became my job to take the kids trick-or-treating for a long time. Well, if you're taking them trick-or-treating, you might as well.
So hold on a second. So you went past.
I probably was.
You went past the age,
school.
and you're trying to lay it off on your younger siblings. That you had to be there to protect them.
Well, and free candy's free candy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite is, though, when my kids were little, they would get a Reese's peanut butter cup, and they would turn around and say, "Mom, I got you a Reese's peanut butter cup." I'm like, "Thank you. Please don't announce that. Just say thank you to the people and walk away, because now I'm embarrassed."
Jenny, tell us about your grandchildren and what they are for Halloween.
Oh,
Did she just out you as a grandmother?
Well, she's a proud one. She is a proud one. It should be. They're adorable.
They are
terribly
adorable.
old grandma. I'm a pretty young grandma.
Yeah, you're a hip.
But I've got 2 fake ones, right? 2
Yeah.
fake hips. But when it comes to being a grandma, I am proud of my little Rhett, who's 1, and he's going to be a bat this year. And little Hadley, who's 7 months old, is going to be an aerobics instructor. So she's got a onesie and some tight
Now
black little leggings, pretty cute.
I have a question about the bat. It is a bat like you would
No,
swing,
like a
or a
flying
bat
bat.
like in the outfield out there, like
Yeah,
a
like
Halloween bat?
like a flying bat.
All right.
So that is what I'm told. I have yet to receive those pictures. They will go trick or treating with everybody else, but they are out west, so I miss them. But we will. FaceTime is pretty cool. I think every grandparent around the world is grateful for that advancement in technology.
What I do now is I trade kids. I mean, I'll see what they've got in their bucket or something and ask if they want to trade for like a full bar.
Ooh, that's a smart idea.
Right?
I will admit on air that when my kids were little and they went to school, their trick-or-treat buckets were 100% game for me. I would ravage those things.
There's no question. So do you give out the full candy bar now?
This year, if you would like a full candy bar, come to my house. We'll be giving out king-size Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh yeah, I go all out too with the handing out.
Yep. Now I'm not handing out my address. You're gonna have to do some detective work, but that is what will be handed out at our house this year.
You can DM me if you want. I'll let you know where.
I'll save you a box.
Emmert.
How many trick-or-treaters do you get that come by your house?
A lot. A lot. I obviously don't live here in Lexington. I live in Louisville. I live on the east side of Louisville, but yeah, a lot. The only rule I have is, when they come up, whoever they are, whatever size they are, whatever age they are, and clearly some of the parents in the back with the may or may not have adult beverages. They may have apple cider, but I'm thinking they have adult beverages over there. I like to have a conversation a little bit, like instead of just coming and shoving the little jack-o'-lantern for what's your outfit? Tell me about your outfit, or what'd you do today, or I like to have a little conversation. But I have a lot.
You
I have
make
a
them
lot.
earn it?
I do. 100%. It's a coach in me.
I know. So how many bags of candy are you gonna have to buy?
I'm saying, the Halloween size, the jumbo size. I'm saying at least probably 6.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
quite a
ton
few.
of trick-or-treat.
Yeah. Now I'm generous. I don't give them 1. I probably give them like 2 or 3. I have to admit.
You got to understand, though, it's
2 or 3.
It's one of those high-end East End Jefferson County neighborhoods,
Right.
and kids know that they're not going there to get some Super Joe bubble gum.
It's true.
They know they're getting the good stuff.
No dum-dum suckers there.
Man, Tennessee with the good stuff there as they shut down the Cats. We head to the top of the 7th in a 3-run game. Here's the Wildcats' upcoming SEC schedule, and not as daunting as
do not have to face this season. Granted, there are no easy games in SEC play, but they definitely have an easier schedule than Tennessee this year.
Wow, and how about that hard hop? And what about Panel having a night? 5 for 5. That would be her 4th single to go along with an RBI double.
I mean, and that's exactly what you're trying to do. Late in the game, don't let anything happen when you've got a new pitcher in the circle. Welcome her to the game by putting yourself on. Gets a lucky hop over the third baseman's head. Hutchins and starts the inning off for the Vols in the right way.
This is Julie Kelly, who's on to pitch the 7th for the Cats. And that's not the way she wanted to start. And Kentucky a little late getting to that ball. And that's going to be one of those teachable moments on the tape right there.
Well, for sure. And not only did that ball hit the dirt prematurely, but it wore a lot of the umpire, which I would have thought would have helped Kentucky by keeping the ball close to the catcher. But it got a little lost, and there's aggression on the bases. As Panel says, well, that's okay. I'll give you a little hesitation step and then be aggressive over there to third. And you like to see that on the base pass, always looking to gain 60 feet.
Do you think she was trying to deke?
No.
Or do you think she actually held up and then saw what happened and said, okay, let's go?
Yeah, it was a recognition play for sure.
Rachel Lawson walking back to the dugout. I don't know why, but it looks like she's got a completely new outfit on.
And wet hair, what's up with that?
Right? I mean, how does that happen?
Wendell Bell.
I got to give him credit now. It looked like he was chucking it pretty good. He didn't make contact. Here it is again.
I mean, full uniform. Look at that. Full uniform.
I still don't understand the helmet.
But that was actually the one thing that she was so worried about tonight. It wasn't the game, it wasn't the lineup, it wasn't the pull-ups, it wasn't anything other than the dunk tank, because she cannot swim and was so worried about that moment.
Boy, and there's another flare, and that's just inside the line. And that'll be an RBI single for Boo Gibson. That's her second hit of the night. Her second RBI.
Well, and what you're seeing is this top of the lineup finding ways to get on. Right now, those balls just have eyes, finding their way inside the fair line or the foul line. And for Tennessee, you love to see this response against a new pitcher in the circle who they are not familiar with.
And the importance of taking that extra base. I mean, you know, more than likely you're not going to score from second base on that, but that's where every base matters. And being aggressive, not stopping yourself as a base runner, forcing the defense to stop you by getting all the way to third base. For Panel, she's able to score on that and get another run on the board.
And Laura Mailer now stands in with still nobody out here in the top half of inning number 7.
Carol, there's a lot of times in the fall you don't see consistency from the fall to the spring in terms of lineup, but I think these first 4 hitters for Tennessee are going to stick. The way that they've been able to be productive, aggressive. I like the way that they approach the game, especially with Fiedler leading things off there at the top of the lineup. But the way that these 1, 2, 3, 4 have been able to show up tonight for Tennessee, I think you may see this as their 1 through 4 lineup in the spring.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Stack your best hitters together and give them the most at-bats you can. And you're just looking for combinations there. And, you know, you can, if you're the leadoff batter or you're the 9 batter consistently through the season, the leadoff batter can get 60 to 70 more at-bats a game. Well, of course you want them, you know, in that position. And then same thing with a 2, 3, 4 batter. It's amazing what a difference it can make. And you're right, the performance we've seen tonight from these top 4 hitters, just making things happen. They're tough outs, drawing walks, hitting the ball with power, able to steal some bases. Just an impressive night for the top part of the Lady Vol offense.
Tenth walk of the game, Daniel Gibbons tells us, as he keeps his impeccable numbers. So we've had a total, let me see, 14 runs, 16 hits, 19 runners left on base, double-digit walks, and 9 errors between the 2 teams.
Now, Buzz, when I took this job, I didn't think there'd be this kind of math taking place in the booth.
Well, still, I mean, small double digits, or else I wouldn't be able to gonkulate them.
Yeah, definitely not what you will see in the spring. These defenses will be shored up. The pitchers will be a little bit more accurate with their locations. I think you'll see more changeups being thrown in the spring. Right now, they are really going at these hitters with location rather than change of speed. But I can't harp on enough how important it is to have a changeup in your arsenal, because when your other pitches aren't working, you can get a hitter with a disruption of timing,
right,
even if you're missing your spots with your location pitches.
Squares to bunt, and it's a good one. Sacrifice works. Gibson goes to third, Mailer to second, as Nugent gives herself up. 2 more Lady Vols into scoring position with just 1 out. And it looks like be another pinch hitter, I believe. That is 10, Alana Leach, who steps in to hit from the left side.
The other thing with the pitchers, and Jenny, you said it, just, you know, they're going to throw a few more strikes, a few more moving pitches, a few off-speed pitches, but a lot of times what coaches will do going into a game or into a series, like, hey, you're the starter today. You're on first relief. and you're on long relief, so to speak, closer almost, and so going into a game, you know how to prepare. You may not warm up a lot at the beginning of the game, but when the game starts, now you go into full mode because you're the short relief. And when it comes to fall softball, you're just trying to get every pitcher out there and to work with different catchers to make sure they get comfortable and know what they need to work on in the off season. And we've seen, gosh, I believe all 5 pitchers now for Kentucky, and we're in the 7th inning, so that means it's hard to get into a rhythm, and you never really know when you're going to go in. You're going to go in at some point, so a little bit of that is rhythm as well for the pitchers.
And the base hit the opposite way. Leach, aggressive on the base pass, goes into second. Gibson scores, and the lead is 10-5.
Well, and this is just an inside-out swing, pushing the ball the other way in a big 5-6 hole that Kentucky leaves open for Tennessee. Textbook hitting to be able to keep her hands inside that ball and push it into the gap to score another run.
And the base running, I just keep going back to Tennessee's base running. They're going to take the extra base if you give it to them. I would have liked to seen that ball go to the third baseman, Hutchins, and cut the ball. Even if the runner's going home, you can turn around, still get her out, but it would have prevented the back runner from getting into scoring position. But every single time that Kentucky has made that mistake and thrown the ball all the way to the plate or not hit the cutoff clean, they're getting another runner in scoring position.
And to that point, Carol, I think one of the biggest parts about a team in the fall is finding who your leaders are going to be. And so if this was happening in the spring, I would expect someone to be able to call out, hey, we need to do this or that. And right now, there's not a lot of communication going on between these defenders. No one's calling each other out. Everybody's still best friends. And to be a quality team, you have to be player-led. And right now, on both sides, I have not seen a player step up and start holding teammates accountable. And that's the difference between winning the big game and being able to come away with those changes to be able to change the momentum of the game.
Might be the fact that there are so many new players on each team. They're still trying to figure out the pecking order.
Yeah, most definitely, and they're changing positions all over the place. So you have to hold yourself accountable to do what is right, but then be able to hold your teammates accountable to elevate your production.
And you have to practice that. Your team needs to know what voice to listen to in what moment. And so you can't wait till something goes wrong on the field or there's tension, because no one's going to know who to listen to and who speaks up. And it's so important to practice that. A quick way to practice that: every time you practice a full team defense with live situations, you have them start in the circle. Because when there's 9 women in a circle and they're staring at each other, someone's going to say something. Someone's going to start the conversation. Or if you need a timeout, have them get together. They're going to learn which voice do we listen to, who feels comfortable stepping up and talking. You got to practice that.
That ball lifted to right center near the track, but taken in by Blum. Mailer tags and scores from third. Leach advances to third. And the Vols now have an 11-5 lead.
I think one of the things I'm most impressed with, if my very crazy lineup card is accurate, is Tennessee has very, very few strikeouts. I mean, they are putting the ball in play, forcing Kentucky to make decisions. With their base running, they're able to score on plays like that, a sac fly, whatever it might be. It's just, their ability to put the ball in play and battle. And again, it goes back to, we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast quite a while ago with Craig Snyder, the new hitting coach. That is a very important approach to him, finding a way to make the defense work, not always going for the long ball, just taking what the defense is giving you. What does the situation call for? We need the ball to the outfield. We've got to run at third, less than 2 outs, being able to practice that. And we've seen Tennessee execute that well today.
I've got Tennessee with 4 strikeouts. Kentucky has struck out 5 times.
And to that point, Carol, it comes down to knowing what a pitcher's going to throw. And when you face freshmen in the fall, you may not know, which makes it difficult in approach.
And that liner will end the top half of the 7th, but not before the Vols get 3 on 3 hits. They leave 1. Cats trail 11-5, heading to the 7th.
So, who's driving tonight then?
Who's the best driver?
On the big blue boo, just like those folks have. Cute as that.
Oh, they're watching you, Buzz.
No, they're not. They're on one of those apps. But a great crowd here tonight, right at 2,000. School night, a lot of sugar. Some of them have already gone home. And the Cats going to try to come back from 6 down here in the home half of inning number 7.
I don't know that we've had a better weather big blue boo in the history of the event. Tonight was absolutely perfect. Huge crowd, great energy, 2 fabulous opponents as they try to close out the fall and head into a very exciting spring.
There were many regular season games last year that were not as good as this one
No, they were not.
weather-wise.
And both of these teams are going to open the season in Clearwater, Florida at the NFCA Leadoff Classic. I'll have the pleasure of being down there as well, and just an outstanding field there that both of these teams will be competing against. Some other SEC schools, Mizzou for sure, and a Northwestern, just an annual NCAA regional team. Duke, who went to the World Series a year ago, so it's going to be a great event, and that's where both of these teams will open up.
Are you calling some of those games again this year? No?
Well, I don't know. Last year we had the pleasure of broadcasting a couple on MLB Network, and those conversations are ongoing. So potentially, more than likely, one of the biggest matchups that is going to be exciting at this particular tournament. And there you get a look at Kentucky's schedule. They're going to be playing Pitt and Notre Dame, and Morgan State, Southern Miss, Iowa. We have 2 HBCU schools in the event. That is intentional. A lot of the HBCU schools do not get to play in a tournament of that prestige and magnitude, so we always want to make that happen. It costs them nothing to come to that, so we're very excited about that as well. But should be a lot of fun, and I think another reason to watch that particular tournament just so happens that 2 of the best pitchers in the country, Jordy Ball and Nyjah Kennedy, their teams will also be there, and they do match up against each other, so that might be a fun one to tune into.
Yeah, you don't say, right? To be able to see how that all plays out. Everybody was pretty devastated last year when Jordy Ball tore ACL the first time she took the field for Nebraska. So excited to see the way that she has rehabbed and come back, hopefully even stronger.
With 1 down, here's Carissa Hamilton. Do you need a couple of temporary NFCA staffers?
We do.
For that
we
weekend?
do. Are you for hire? We are always looking for more help. If you've been down to Clearwater, the following weekend is ESPN's signature tournament. We work together with them on sharing some things facility-wise to make both of those events happen. But that particular venue is a city block long. There's 4 fields and then 3 fields and then 2 fields, so it's very spread out. So we do indeed, Buzz.
There you go. Let's go.
Looking for hired help.
Let's go.
Wow, she said hired, not volunteer. So I think.
Oh, I heard the word.
I heard it.
I heard the word.
And it's not for candy. Even though there has been 0 candy
None.
in this booth tonight, I am just very disappointed in the deputy athletic director at Kentucky.
I don't think.
Do you know that guy?
I don't think the SWA would have let that happen. Do you?
No, I think that if we had Rachel Baker anywhere near this facility, she would have brought us Reese's Peanut Butter Cups up to the booth.
She was probably out somewhere today. Her kids were either playing travel softball or travel basketball, right?
It's true. She's in the thick of it.
Majetko with a 1-2 pitch. And she struck out the first 2 here in the 7th. And the Wildcats down to their final out.
That's what makes Majetko so much fun. She doesn't overpower you with her speed. She's not going to hit 70, even 68 in the upper 60s. She throws mid-60s, but it is the spin on the ball. You can see the revolutions. Very tough as a hitter to catch up with that.
First pitch to Maddie Clark is fouled back. I think somebody just reminded Fiedler that she took her to the wall last time. She just backed up about 5 or 6 feet.
She's got to challenge herself. She can't make it always look that good.
I get it.
I'm just grateful for the friendship that both Rachel Lawson and Karen Weekly have with one another to be able to make this event happen in the fall, to see this kind of softball so far before everybody else across the country is able to play SEC softball. We're able to see a pretty quality matchup. Now, it hasn't been a clean ball game. It hasn't been one that either of them is going to be proud of. They're going to go back, watch a lot of film, and hammer out and iron out some of these miscues that they've had all game long. But so important to have this kind of caliber game to be able to go back to the drawing board and shore things up for the spring.
The ball is lifted to short right field, and this one is over. So for the Wildcats here tonight for, let's go with Tennessee first. The Vols get 11 runs, 13 hits, 2 errors. They leave 12 on base. And Kentucky, 5